What's going on, everybody? It's Brent0331. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So tonight's live stream, I recently uploaded a video. I got a Styrog, so I did a video about bullpups in general, nothing specific about the Styrog. But I wanted to bring in somebody that kind of essentially inspired me to get that, and that's Dimitri, the creator of the ACSS reticle. So he's a big fan of bullpups, and again, he's the reason I got this. So I also got Jared on here, 2 Alpha Solutions. He was my competition during the SEER Challenge, and he has his own tactical training company. So I thought it'd be good to bring him in, and so maybe he can throw his own 2 cents. I don't know, Jared, do you have any experience with bullpups?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. So it'll be a learning curve for me here tonight. So sorry, I was refilling my coffee for the night there, but no, it'll be a learning experience for me.
Nice. All right, so here we go. I want to bring up Dimitri here. So Dimitri, you are the man that turned me on to these things. Now, I will, in full disclosure, and Dimitri knows this, like AR-15 will always be my go-to. But Dimitri swears up and down on bullpups, specifically the AUG. So take it, man. Sell us.
How am I like the bullpup guy that turned you on to this and the guy to sell it? Like, I don't get that.
Oh, horse shit.
I still run an AR. If the shit hit the fan, I'm grabbing an AR because I got God knows how many rounds through one, so the muscle memory is going to be AR. But they have their advantages. There is something to them. The main things that attract me to them is when you add a suppressor to it. You add a can to it, you're still smaller than an M4, even with a suppressor and a 16-inch barrel. So that makes it really handy. Like I can hand it to my my youngest, and he can hold it one-handed at the ready with a can on the front. I can't hold an AR like that with a can on the front, and I'm like 250 some pounds. So it all the weight being in the back is a big advantage. Also, when you're shooting offhand, because you start to do the figure 8 normally, right? Your sight picture doesn't stay. It's like you're doing this while you're standing. So because all the weight's in the back, it kind of, you still do the figure 8, it's just a little bit smaller, and I noticed the groups are tighter offhand. They're fairly accurate. A lot of people say, oh, it's a shitty trigger, this and that, but if you shoot them, you know how on an AR you use the small pad of your finger, right? With these, you got to stick your finger all the way through. So imagine going to like the second pad on your hand or on your finger. And when you do that, it allows you to squeeze tighter, and you're able to break the shots. The accuracy is there. What's hard to do is like your cadence, to go like boom, 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 and be able to. It's muscle memory. You just have to train through it, and you can get it to do that too. But vehicles being suppressed, that kind of thing, especially now with the new brace laws, it's like you can't even have a 10.5 inch. You got to SPR it and do all this crap. Well, I can have a small rifle like that and maintain a 16-inch barrel. The biggest issue with a bullpup I've ran into, one is the rail space. Once you start adding lights and lasers and stuff, you have to configure it a certain way. That and the AR muscle memory. I mean, anytime I'm under stress, I'm slamming the mag in the front like an AR, which it should be back there. So yeah, I mean, that's and they all have their quirks, like the AUG. I notice when I suppress it, it's still kind of loud because where the gas block is. But it's far more handy because you can grab the front grip, and I think everybody kind of thinks flat range just shooting, but in real situations, you end up shooting around corners. Like if you look at the Ukraine conflict and stuff, they're shooting, in all these weird, awkward positions. And that front handle, kind of like a broomstick or a grip pod, allows you to do that to where the Tavor doesn't have that. But the Tavor allows you to take PMags, so now you can use your stripper clips and load up your mags a lot quicker. The AUG mags are clear, so you can see how many rounds you have, and they're definitely far more durable. Like if you look at the sides of them, they're like real thick. They remind me of like the Circle K AK mags. I don't know if you remember those back in the days, but yeah, but I mean, being able to run AR mags on a Tavor, that's an advantage because you can use the stripper clips. They're everywhere. Disadvantage, so, go ahead.
You have multiple bullpup rifles. So of those, what is your favorite and why?
So I like the AUG a lot because how streamlined and ergonomic it is. Like it, part of it is like you could say, oh, weight, this and that. There's part that you can't explain. It just feels good in your hand. So it just feels right. Like when I hold it and I'm in certain positions and stuff, it fits me like a glove. The Tavor does as well, but when I talk about Tavor, I'm talking about the Gen 1, the what is that, SAR? I forgot what acronym they're using for that, but I'm talking about that model, not so much the what's the second one they put out? I forgot the second. Do you remember the second one? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know if I've seen the second one. Is the Gen 1 the one that Ken traded you?
Yeah, that's the Gen 1. The Gen 2 is, maybe the guys in the comments can help us, but yeah, that one's a little bit different. It's got more like an AR type controls. That one didn't shoot too well for me. The groups weren't tight. Everything just kind of felt off. And then I have a VHS. That one, I really don't like the safety on that. It's really weird. You got a brake grip, and it's similar to like an MP5 type safety, but in a weird angle. I don't like the buttstock on it because you can like telescope it out or whatever. But the problem with it is that it's already at NATO size compressed. So now you add a plate carrier to it. Now you're really way out there. So it doesn't really do me any good to get further back. Then I'm like way out there. I guess it makes sense if you're like 6'5" or something. But overall, it's like too long. But that rifle is very accurate. I was surprised how accurate that rifle is. And it's truly ambi. You can charge the handle either way, safety either way. So they all have an advantage and disadvantage to them. It's not like one is like way better than the rest. If you plan on shooting righty only, I think the AUG is a good bet. But if you go lefty on an AUG, you're gonna get brass in your face. There's no brass deflector. So it's hard to pick one and say one is better than another. You know what I mean? For my purposes and how my body's built and what works good for me, I would say the AUG is probably my favorite as far as that goes. And second would be the Tavor, and third would be the VHS or Halion. They call it the Halion or whatever.
Yeah, I'll definitely second the like they're different per people because like I've held the British SAA and I wasn't that impressed with it, and it didn't feel good in my hands at all. It felt really awkward. I felt the Tavor, which I know you like, the Gen 1 because my buddy Ken had it, and I wasn't too impressed with that one. But the AUG does feel good in my hands, and it does. The weight does feel good, like distributed and everything with me. So
the way Ken had it set up isn't like it. Remember, I was like, I got to reconfigure this thing because it's not for me. It was like set for him. The original Tavor, you're supposed to hold it and shoot it using what the Israelis call the 8-point method. And you don't hold it like a regular rifle, like you would an AR or something. You actually put your forearm up against that trigger guard. It's got an oversized trigger guard. And then you loop through and you grip here and you're in. So you're using multiple points. And I guess when you count them all up, it's 8. but your forearm is what does a lot of the holding. Or when you shoot prone, to where you normally take a rear bag and put it in the back and toe support it, on a Tavor, you want to put it in front of that trigger guard. And if you put it in front of the trigger guard, all the movement stops. It becomes very, very stable all of a sudden. So that's part of it too, is the lack of training that is out there to tell people this is how you hold a gun. This is how you shoot it in prone. You know, this is how it works. So yeah, it's a give and take. The Tavor is definitely a lot more quiet when suppressed. It's mag release, like you can shoot and go like that and the mag drops out, so you can do your mag changes a little bit quicker. But in my humble opinion, and you know, and again, I'm just a civilian. I've never been in the military. I've never been well, I've been in some situations, but not uniform type combat, right? Being able to do fast mag changes to me is not a huge thing. Like if I'm doing a mag change, I'm gonna find some cover. I'm not gonna be running around doing this, you know, 3-gun competition stuff and looking cool like guys do on Instagram. You're just a bullet magnet doing that. You need to get down. So to me, the mag change being a little bit quicker isn't that big of a deal. It's more of reliability, accuracy, and ergonomics. How can I set up the lights and lasers and all that crap and be able to access it and use it? And I'm not a big fan of pressure switches, so that makes things super like extra crazy for me, because now I got to configure things where I can thumb it and not be, you know, using a pressure switch. Accuracy wise, like I noticed the Tavor, like it shot okay, but when I added a suppressor to it and I went to the IWI 77 grainers, it tightened up a lot more. It became very accurate. The AUG seems to like more 62, 55 grain. The AUG is a 1:9 rate of twist. The Tavor is a 1:7. So the Tavor is able to stabilize heavier rounds a little bit better.
Can you answer? I know somebody had commented on the video I posted that they said the AUG was a 4 MOA gun. Can you comment on that?
I'm seeing about 1.5 to 2. If anything, it's really accurate.
Is that a common misconception that the AUG is not accurate, or what do you think? What do you think is the cause of that, or why do you think people have said that in the past?
I think a lot of people aren't used to the trigger. So if you're not used to the trigger and you're used to an AR, and now you got to squeeze and take it a little bit further back than you're used to, and it's not like it's not like a Geisley, like the Tavor. You can drop a Geisley trigger, and Geisley does a really good job with those triggers. It's like better than an AR. It's like so light and crisp, it just breaks. To where on the AUG, it's like a plastic feeling, it's kind of like, but if you get used to it, and even if you're pulling the trigger wrong, if you consistently do it wrong the exact same way, you're going to get tight groups. So for me, it's about a 1.5 to 2 MOA rifle. It's pretty accurate. So it could be that the guy's not used to the trigger. Maybe he had a shot out barrel. One of the things that happens with any gun is if the harmonic signature isn't correct. So when you shoot a gun, there's a node that goes back and forth on the barrel about 5 times before that bullet even exits. And that's your harmonics. So you need to find, like, you'll hear guys go, well, my gun likes 55 grain, or my gun likes 62, or whatever. So what that is it's the gun is meeting the right node. Like if you were to start hand loading and you did the ladder method, you would start to load a little bit more powder, and you would see that, okay, 3 MOA, 2 MOA, 1.5, 1 MOA, 1.5 MOA, 2 MOA. Okay, so I know here's a sweet spot. So 24 grain of Varget, for example, gives me that sweet spot. And all that sweet spot is the harmonics of the barrel. So if this guy had some ammo that gun didn't like, yeah, it's a 4 MOA rifle. So like I got a 20-inch AR that if I ran M855 through it, it's going to shoot like 4 MOA. But if I run this 60 grain VMAX that I've hand loaded for it, it makes a rugged hole at 200. So it's more of harmonics That's why it kind of, when I see accuracy tests, I'm like, they don't really understand how it all works. You could have, shitty accuracy with 55 grainers, but then all of a sudden you go to a different load and all of a sudden that tightens up really good. So if you did your test with 55, it's a shitty gun. If you shot it with that, oh my God, this thing's so accurate. So it's hard to say, a gun is a 4 MOA or a 2 MOA. But for me, using like M193 and M855, I'm getting about a 1.5 to 2 inch group at 100 meters, actually, not yards. So that would be what, 1.09? So that would break it down to, like under 2 minutes.
One of the most important things to mention, obviously, and you've already brought this up, is just, the overall length, right? So like in my video that I posted the other day, like that AR on the right-hand side there, that's a 10.5 inch AR, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have the buttstock collapse all the way because my sling's going through there. So right now it's kind of like the same length. But if I were to collapse that buttstock all the way, it would only be just a little bit shorter than the AUG. And then, it's important to note that like most people don't run their AR buttstock like all the way collapsed, right?
Yeah.
So, even when I did that little like comparison, like I had the buttstock either collapsed or, like in that 10.5, just barely out. Well, most people are going to have it extended to some degree. So that distance is even greater in terms of length. So there's a lot to be said for that length of that rifle. When there, I'm showing you right there, a 10.5 inch AR is about the same length as a freaking 16 inch barrel AUG, which is just absolutely nuts to me. So that is undoubtedly a huge, huge advantage. So I definitely think the disadvantage is, just manual arms, right? Everybody here in the United States is comfortable with ARs. Everybody uses ARs. So everybody knows how to use ARs. And then you pick up a bullpup, any bullpup, and it's like, what the fuck? Completely different.
What I found weird is being like you have a sling on, and now you're going to do a mag change, and it's like, it's so close to you. Everything is like, your workspace is so small, to where in an AR, you're here, you can palm strike it. To where here, it's like, when you put a mag in, you want to put it in and palm it, make sure it's gone in there, Yeah. To where on a bullpup, it's like, I don't know, it just feels so weird.
So that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I just thought of this. Slings for bullpup. Like, what do you recommend? Because I just threw on an old 3-point sling that I had because it was just laying around and I didn't have a gun on it. And then, it works, but, the charging handle on the AUG, like the fucking sling swivel is on the top of the freaking rifle. So it kind of gets in the way of that, sling. And it would be an issue with a 2-point. It'd be an issue with the 3-point that I have on there. It would be an issue with a parade sling. So it's like, why the hell did they put it there? A, and then B, like, do most people run like 1-point slings with a freaking AUG?
So I've never really had a problem with a sling in the front because for me, the way I do a 2-point, and the charging handle seems to be behind the sling always. Where it feels weird is when you put a laser on it and where the laser projects, it's like that little, a little sling swivel is like in the way.
That's what I was experiencing.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. They should have. There's improvements that can be made. There is a version that they've done that has a longer rail. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like a stock kit you can get. There's an old video by what's that guy's name? FPS Russia. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
And he did one with what was his name? Kyle, I think. He did a full auto with an AUG, and it's got that rail system I'm talking about. And that's another thing too is when you're talking about a military rifle on an AUG. When you shoot an AUG full auto, now that's a trip. That'll trip you the fuck out.
I heard about that. It's like a graduated trigger.
Yeah, so you pull, and then when it first breaks, it's a single round, and then when you go back, it goes full auto. So I found it hard, like, when you go full auto and you tighten up and you kind of like hold low left and you burst. And as you burst, it bursts up into the right and you can kind of, control it. This was kind of weird because it's like it breaks. And when it breaks, it kind of takes you off and then you go full auto. So it's just like, and again, I'm not used to it. So that's probably the thing is once you get used to it, then you could, control it better. But overall, reliability is there, accuracy is there, and the compactness being so small inside a vehicle, you don't have to go up and over the shoulder to shoot through the windshield or out the window on an AUG. You just bring it up and shoot. You're right there. You're not having to like do any weird things to get through.
Okay, so another question here, and this would be me, like, not only playing devil's advocate, but in my opinion, it's like one of the reasons why I would stick and not leave with an AR-15 is obviously I'm super comfortable with it, right?
Sure.
Just like clearing malfunctions. So, in my opinion, clearing malfunctions with an AR is relatively easy unless you have like a stuck cartridge. Can you talk about those issues? Obviously, there's with the AUG, it's really simple, but these other bullpups might be a different story as well.
Yeah, I mean, having to tap and rack and do all that crap while everything is happening here is not going to be. I don't know. I guess for me, because I'm so used to an AR, that's going to be tricky. Obviously, you can take the mag out and strip and pull back and forth and do what you need to do. The big advantage of the AUG is that you can press the button and take the whole barrel out. So if you got a broken shell stuck in the barrel, you can literally yank it out. So that's an advantage there, but being further back is the disadvantage because you can't, mainly when you're slinged up. If you're not slinged up, you can hold it out in front of you and do stuff. But when you're slinged up, I mean, the AUG is new to me too. I've had how long is it now? About a month and a half, maybe 2 that I've had one.
I thought you've had it longer than that. No?
No, I've had a Tavor for a long time. And I've had the VHS for a minute too. And it's the same issues with those two. You're still here doing this.
So hold on, let me get this straight. You had a gun for a month and you talked me into getting one.
I didn't talk you. I didn't say Brent.
Bullshit.
I said I like this gun a lot. Hey, I told you if you want to trade something for it, I'll trade you. And you said no, I don't sell guns.
I don't. I think it's
okay.
against law.
So what's your take on it? Since
Okay, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I have not like run and gun with this yet. However, the very limited training I've done with it the other day, like when I was taking it out there and filming, I liked it. I really did. It felt good. The weight was distributed well. What you were talking about with like the one-handed. Yeah, absolutely. You can sit there and no shit fire the sucker in your shoulder with one hand.
It's like an overgrown pistol.
Yes. Yeah. It's wild. And so it's cool. The manual arms is trippy, right? You got to get used to everything, but other than that, it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, remember the first time you got an AK? That was weird, right? Now you got to roll it and rack it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess an AK is a little easier because you're still here.
Yeah. So I like it so far. One thing I noticed, and this can be a good segue into our next conversation, is just like optics about it, right? So like you were telling me from the get-go, I think 2X, right?
I like the 2X, yeah.
Yeah, throw 2X on the AUG. But I just got this new 5X with your Aurora reticle that you designed. Yeah. And then I've got that fucking 12 o'clock piggyback mount with the red dot. Dude, I love that setup, man. That 5X is fucking awesome. I haven't done a video over yet, but you guys know, and we're talking to the creator of the reticle. That Aurora reticle is awesome, and that 5X is awesome. So it's just a fantastic setup. But anyways, I say that to say this: I have to have that optic all the way to the back on the Picatinny rail because the eye relief on this new 5X to me seems like an ACOG. You got to be close.
So an ACOG is typically about an inch and a half, to where this thing is like 2 to 2.5. So it's a little bit longer than an ACOG, like eye relief wise, but you're still got to be further back. It's not,
Yeah.
to where the 2X, you got a lot more eye relief. I was telling you the 2X because you didn't even have a 5X yet. And you didn't have the mount on top either.
That's true.
So a 2X is just, I like the 2X a lot because it's fast enough to where you can CQB with it. And it's magnified enough to where you can reach out to about 500 with it. To where anytime you go to a 3, 4, 5X and so on, now you need to piggyback a dot on top. So,
See, I love that setup, and not just on like a bullpup. Like I just love, that ACOG style with RMR.
With RMR on top, yeah.
Because it's like the RMR is great for CQB. It's great for passive shooting with MVGs.
Sure.
And then it's like right there, I got that 4X magnification at the ready for, engagements, 50 and greater.
Sure.
And, shooting out there in Nevada with you, we were reaching out all the way to 800 at one point. And it's like, I wasn't hitting every round at 800. No. I think I hit like 4 out of 10. But still, I'm hitting with a 5.56, 800 yards away, 4 out of 10. That's pretty fucking good.
Remember my friend Gunny that we talked to on the phone when we were driving?
Yeah.
He's like, so like what happens at 800 meters? Like, do you get, like, what's it like? I'm like, it's like you're fucking, oh, fuck, I'm shot. You know what I mean? You got a round through you, through your vitals. You're out of the fight. So, because a lot of people go, well, 800 yards, that's just like, you're just peppering the guy. Oh, no, you're not peppering the guy. You're, anytime you get hit, you're in trouble. You're going to, yeah.
Jared,
I don't want to be standing out there.
Oh, yeah. Jared, have you had any guys running bullpups through any of your classes or anything?
No, I sure haven't. I'd like to shoot one. I did watch your video the other day, Brent. It was a pretty outstanding video.
Thanks, man.
I would like, if anybody's in Virginia and wants to come out and bring their bullpup along, bring it along, because I'd love to shoot it and kind of compare. I've never shot one. I don't even know what the iron sights look like on them. What those are even like. To me, the bullpup, just aesthetic wise, it looks so bulky and cumbersome. Excuse me. You see the British soldiers having them in shouldered arms with them, and they just look so obnoxious almost, and just bulky and whatnot. So, but you say they feel really good when you shoot them, so there got to be something to that.
Well, it depends. So, like I said, I used that British service rifle. I did a exchange program, and I mentioned this in the video I posted. And, I shot it, and I went for a week-long field training exercise. And I wasn't impressed. It was heavy, and it just was awkward, and I felt like I was getting fatigued carrying it. But again, that's just because I'm used to, at this point, I think I went there in like 2016 or 2017.
You've been shooting them for ARs for 15 years at that point.
Yeah, my whole Marine Corps career had been nothing but M16s and M4s, and then to go to that, this rifle right here, to go to that from an M16 and M4, it was just a drastic change. And then I believe the history with those rifles is like they'd sent them to HK, and they got reworked, and HK like completely redid the rifles. And when they did that, if you guys have ever messed with like HK weapons, like they are always heavier. And fucking, they made those rifles heavier. It's just German engineering, man. They just over-engineer shit. And so those rifles, the Brits were telling me, they're like, yeah, they're a lot more reliable. They're a lot better rifle now that they've been reworked by HK, but they are heavier than they used to be.
So does it feel front heavy or just heavy?
I think it was back heavy if I can remember correctly. I just remember it being awkward, right? Like just carrying it and then like all the weight being back here. Like you would think that would be a plus. Like when I had the AUG, like it feels good. It feels light. It feels like I can sit there and hold it in my hand like this all day. I don't remember that being the case with the British rifle. I remember it being significantly heavy back here, and it was fatiguing.
Was it set up like the picture with a grenade launcher? And
No,
all
I didn't have it. I didn't have a grenade rifle. I just had a regular rifle.
Like I was saying, just a picture of one, they look like they're so much heavier in the back end on it, and it just seems like their center of balance is just way off. But that's just me going off of pictures and videos and stuff. I've never even handled one.
So here's the thing: is that when the weight goes to the back, right? Imagine you're holding a 25-pound weight, and how long you can hold a 25-pound weight here compared to here.
Right, exactly.
So it's hard to describe if you haven't really but they do feel different. But like both Tavor and the AUG to me feel like rear heavy, but light enough. Well, that too. Yeah, it's hard to explain and articulate what they feel like. You just have to feel it. But to me, the AUG fits like a glove. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. And
yeah,
I talked to Steyer and them, and they were like, "Oh, it's designed to run." I forgot how many rounds they said. It was like 20,000. It was some crazy number, without having to be serviced and blah blah blah, because it's using a short piston bolt carrier, like the action to it, which is interesting. Like I've shot my other AUG a lot, and the bolt carrier group looks like clean and oiled. To where on an AR, I'd have to clean that gun. It'd be all crusted over. I'd have to sit there and scrape the bolt carrier group.
Yeah. The crazy thing is like with that AUG, it's like, if and when you shoot at your barrel, which, I own a lot of firearms, and it's probably the reason why I have never done it, but I've never shot out a barrel on any of my firearms. Then again, I got a lot of them. So it's not like I'm shooting the same gun over and over and over. But if that were the case, like the AUG, you just buy a new barrel. And it's that simple. I remember when I first got the AUG, and I was talking to Dimitri about something, and I made a comment about the barrel, and he's like, "Oh, you don't know about the AUG, do you?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Dude," he's like, "you just push that button, that barrel comes right out." And I'm like, "What? Get the fuck out of here!" Sure shit. You just grab the freaking pistol grip, man, and fucking pops right out after you depress that button.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is you can have a short barrel, a 16 and a half inch barrel, and then you can put a 20-inch barrel and turn it into a DMR gun. Or you can put a heavy barrel and turn it into like a section support weapon. It's a 22-inch thick barrel. And when those things heat up, you can literally take it out and put a fresh barrel in and continue that rate of fire.
So the thing about that, though, I was thinking about this the other day. So it's like, yeah, that's a great feature, but are you really gonna be doing that in combat? Or
no, you're not.
You got to zero your optic to that new barrel.
Sure. No, well, you can get by on that on exposed tactical turrets. You can dial in what the dope is for each barrel and be re-zeroed. But when the advantage to that is if you're talking about a military, I could take the same frame and now set up my DMR guys just by simply changing the barrel, my average grunt, which is the 16, and so on.
Yeah.
As far as us, as a civilian or just a single man use, yeah, you don't really benefit a lot out of that unless you're going to change barrel because the barrel's shot out. They do make a 300 blackout barrel that you can slap in, and all of a sudden you're shooting 300 blackout. That's kind of cool. So you can go into subsonics and so on. But overall, yeah, that's not really a big advantage to us. I guess if you're going to clean the barrel, it'd be handy just to pop it out.
Yeah.
But
so what? Obviously, you've gone out to the Nevada desert and shot out there. And if you guys don't know, it's like BLM land. Like literally, you can shoot as far as you want out there. So how far have you stretched out that AUG of yours?
I shot it out to 600 meters so far, and the groups were pretty tight.
I mean, that's pretty much like, you know, around 500 in is your like standard infantryman. Like anything beyond that is like you're talking designated marksman shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell by the size of the groups, it's about as accurate as an AR shooting, you know, M855. You remember when you came out and you were shooting at 600 yards and you had a group about yay big going, and I was freaking out. Yeah, that's not normal. Typically at 600 yards, you're getting a group beyond the torso. If you're talking about a 2 MOA gun, you're already at 12 inches. Then you add your wind to that and your standard deviation on the feet per second variation, and now you got a football sized group going. So yeah, they're accurate enough to where, you know, you can qualify at 5, 6, and so on. Like it's accurate.
Okay, so let's talk about this because you got experience with multiple bullpups. And what optics do you recommend for those respective guns, like the AUG?
It all depends on what you're doing. I think no matter like their main strength is CQB, because they're so close. You can cut those corners and move. Like I was telling Ken today on your video, if you watch, he's catching those corners like you couldn't do that with an AR. It's too long. You know what I mean? You'd have to like bring it down to cut that corner.
Yeah, real quick, I gotta point this out because somebody commented on that video. They're like, "Oh, it's clear that guy doesn't have any combat experience." And I'm like,
What
are you talking about, dude? Like, I have combat experience, like, and I'm watching him. I was like, yeah, he's fucking corner snapping the rooms. Like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah, so, I mean, you get a bunch of guys that don't know shit that comment and say stuff. You get a lot of reviewers that review stuff, and it's like, what are you talking? You know, and people listen to these guys, and it's like, I'm not gonna listen to some 20-year-old college kid about combative stuff. You know, I'm gonna listen to somebody that's been there, done that. But yeah, no, Ken was moving really good, I thought.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take you off topic.
No problem. I mean, but yeah, CQB is its main strength, I think. So a 1X. Here's the thing too. Like Jarrett was saying on the iron sights, right? You were saying about the so Tavor has iron sights. It's got backup iron sights integrated into the rail. So does the VHS. The problem with the VHS is they don't co-witness. So if you go to AR height on a dot, they're too low. You can't see them. So, but they both have it. The AUG doesn't have it. Because the AUG doesn't have it, I don't recommend a straight red dot. Because if you're going to run a red dot, you need backup sights. Because if that dot fails, you need to be able to go back to something. And if that dot's gone and you don't have backup sights, then you're out of the fight. You're just using the tube of the red dot as your aiming point.
That's why I'm a prism guy, but go ahead, I digress.
Right. So for an AUG, I recommend like the 1X Cyclops, the 2X, a 4X, a 5, anything that you can piggyback a red dot. And the thing with a red dot on top, the piggyback, one of the things I've seen when people are under stress, they go back to their cheek weld. They're not looking through the dot on top. Like you have it ingrained in you because you've ran one that way for so long that you're kind of heads up to where guys under stress, they're going to do this. And now they're looking through the scope instead of the dot on top. So that's a training problem that guys need to kind of get used to, I think. But yeah, the optics I recommend are like on a Tavor, you could run a dot because if the dot fails, you got your backups. Same with the VHS. But at the same time, if you're running a laser, you're probably not going to be able to pop those backups up because the laser is on top. So it all depends on what you're doing. If you're not night shooting, then I like the 1X, the 2X. If you are night shooting, then you can, piggyback on top and become passive. If you're running a laser, then you don't really need all that. So it goes back to how are you running it and what are you trying to do. So, but typically I recommend something compact, something, obviously durable. An etched reticle is a big plus. It's hard to beat those Cyclopses and the 2Xs. The 5X2 if you're going to reach further out and piggyback on it. So, but I mean, you're not going to go wrong with an aim point and backup sights or an EOTech and backup sights.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to admit this. Like I have an MRO, right, and like the battery power is just not. It's not there. It's like I literally have to have on that rifle that has an MRO. Like I can't really leave it on 24/7 because it's going to die. And so like on that rifle, I got to leave like my flip up backup iron sight up just in case that shit dies on me, Right. So it's like, in a day and age where it's like you have aim points that last like thousands and thousands of hours. And it's like, why are MROs not at where aim point is in terms of that?
That's a misconception too. Like when they say 50,000 hours.
Yeah.
Same with the PA stuff and Holosun and anybody else. When they say 50 hours, they're talking about a low to a medium setting. When you go to a high setting, high enough to where you're not going to wash out on white light, those hours go downhill. And that's kind of why, like, I did a video saying it for home defense, I choose the Cyclops over anything. And the reason is one, it's an etched reticle. No matter what happens, I have an etched reticle. Even under white light, it's not going to wash out. That etched reticle will like show up. Two, it's got auto live. So if I can leave the weapon on, like the optic on, it turns off. But as soon as I pick it up, it's kicked on already. So like the issue you're running in with the MRO where you can't leave it on, this thing I just leave it on and it's good to go.
Yeah. Jared, what do you run?
On my AR?
Yeah.
The EOTech, dual dot EOTech with 3-time magnifier.
Isn't the battery life on that pretty low too on the EOTechs?
I have had it on there for 3 years and I've never changed the battery.
You leave it on?
No, I shut it off.
Okay.
But I believe it has a 4-hour shut-off window, automatic shut-off window.
Yeah, 8 hours. After 8 hours, it will turn off.
Maybe it's 8 hours. Yeah.
So that's something that you got to put part of your training is if you hear a bump in the middle of the night, you got to turn on the optic and know.
Right.
You got to practice that and be ready for it. An EOTech is probably one of the best optics I've ever owned. I bought a 512 way back in the days, and I shot the hell out of it. I bought it for like $250. And then when EOTech did their recall because of the thermal drifting, I got like $350 back.
It's funny you say that because like years ago, and you guys can go back to like some of my original videos, like I ran an EOTech and I loved it. I don't remember what the model number was, but it was one that ran off of AA, and I got that one. It's like, what is it?
Yeah, probably the 512.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, well, fucking AAs are everywhere, right? So that was the reason why I bought it. I loved it. It was fantastic. And then they had that recall, and then at this point I didn't own an ACOG yet. They had that recall, and I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna fucking send this bitch in, get my rebate, and then I'm gonna put that money towards an ACOG, and that's what I did. And then like ever since then, I haven't owned an EOTech, but I have nothing bad to say about them. Like when I had that optic, like I loved using it, but it doesn't have any bullet drop compensation or anything like that. Like so
they do make a version that has a BDC. I've never tested it, but I have bad stuff to say about it, and I have bad stuff to say about an ACOG.
Yeah,
I have bad stuff to say about anything. Even products that we sell. Everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. An EOTech is going to be bigger, heavier, less battery life. You have to turn it on. Great under night vision. Very fast, big open window. They're fast. An ACOG. Okay, so another disadvantage with the EOTech. Once you start getting into medium range, there's no auto ranging. You got to buy a Pegasus magnifier to put behind it to have that ranging now. Unless you have the BDC version, you're talking about holdovers. So if you imagine a 500 meter holdover with a 10-mile-an-hour wind, you're like, you know, way up there and like way over there to impact here. So not having a reticle that allows you to do that, that's an issue. An ACOG is going to be really good at medium range. Well, depends which model. If you're lucky enough, and I'm not saying this just because I designed it, but if you're lucky enough to have an ACSS Aurora or the standard ACSS, now you have wind holds. Your standard RCO didn't have wind holds.
Best fucking ACOG I've ever owned, hands down.
Me too. And again, I can't believe that's no more. That's just a damn shame.
I know, it's unbelievable.
So with an ACOG, you got a standard ACOG. I'm not talking ACSS. You got your auto ranging, and now you're holding, but now you got to hold for wind, and you got to guess what that wind hold is. So you're holding it out of space somewhere, hoping that's the correct, hold off point. Problem with an ACOG is that when you're in a dark room looking into a light room, you're going to wash out. Or if you're outside and it's a bright day, you better be taped up because that thing's going to bloom like crazy. So, obviously a little RMR on top solves a lot of that. But the amount that they created for the RMR and an ACOG, in my humble opinion, it's kind of rinky-dink with those little 2 screws in the front. Like, come on. And I've talked to a lot of guys that, make jumps and stuff, and they say we lose RMRs all the time just from the jump, just landing weird, it just fucking comes off.
Can I throw this in? When you and me, and I'm saying this as like an avid ACOG lover, like I'm telling you right now, if I look out the window and there's Chi-Com paratroopers falling in the sky, it's like I'm grabbing my Daniel Defense rifle with an ACOG and RMR combo. Like that is my go-to slaying fucking communist bodies weapon. But when I was out there in the desert shooting, dude, it was dusk, and it got to the point where like you could still see with the naked eye. Like there was a target out there at I think it was 500 or 600 meters out or yards out, and we were gonna try to shoot low light, and I could not fucking see it through my ACOG.
Yeah,
slapped a $300 Chinese-made primary arms Raptor, fucking 1:6 low power variable optic on there. Slaying it all day long.
that was very disappointing because I have a whole shit ton of ACOGs with my reticle in it, right? Like I got a whole bunch of those, and like you couldn't see past 200 meters. It just looked blurry. It just looked weird. You couldn't see. Yeah, that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
See, if I ever do it, but when I do another build, I'm on the fence of doing an ACOG with the RMR or doing the LPVO. I'm not sure which way I want to go yet.
You know what's kind of cool is when you do an LPVO and you got to get either a Raptor mount or not Raptor, Reptilian, or a PA makes one now, and you piggyback a dot on top.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to go passive, and you can set your LPVO, stay at 4 power, 6 power, whatever, and be CQBing with a dot on top, and then get underneath your scope and have that magnification.
Yeah.
So, but it's best to experiment with it all. If you're not going to do night vision, then
I'm trying not to come up too high because you two just not like guns on camera. But
yeah,
but you run yours like back here, right, Dimitri?
Yeah, I run it enough to where like I like a PVS 14 over duals. We've had that discussion. So enough to where my PVS 14 can get behind it. But typically, I don't run a PVS 14 behind it. I run it on the left side, and I go passive with my right eye. Like I kind of like bend aiming concept, but with you know what I'm talking about with the 14, just like you do with an RMR, same thing.
Yeah, you can passively shoot through an ACOG.
Right. So, but yeah, if you're used to an EOTech all these years, you're gonna look through the optic before you look on top. It's just muscle memory. You're gonna like cheek up. So
honestly, like, and I fault the military for this too, because the military does not do a good job at teaching passive aiming. you know, it might get mentioned, but we really never got practical application doing that. We always used our PECs, right? Or PEC 16 or PEC 15, whatever you had. It wasn't until I went through a night vision shooting course that the instructor made us shoot with both PECs and passive aiming, and he said that our times had to be the same, right? So it's like you had to be just as proficient shooting with a laser as you did passive shooting. And, you know, at first I was thinking like, oh, that's going to be fucking impossible. You know, the passive shooting is so much more difficult. No, absolutely wasn't. Once I got used to it, and you know, I got used to the movements and where my head needed to be positioned in regards to my MVG. Like I was just as fast shooting passively as I was with the PEC. And then here's the thing: like when you use your PEC, you're telegraphing to the enemy where you are, right? So it's like, yeah, CQB is not an issue because you're in a small confined room, like. You know, you're right across the way from them. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I see you, you see me, especially if the enemy's got MVGs on. But when you're out in the field environment where there's distance between you, 1 to 2, 300 meters between you, and you're engaging each other, like, I don't want a laser coming from my position to you.
Right.
And this happens all the time at One Shepherd when you go out there. When I first started doing One Shepherd, it was like hardly anybody had MVGs. Now you go to One Shepherd, at least 50%, if not more, have not only night vision, but they have some sort of laser aiming device, right?
Yeah.
So it's like fucking Star Wars. So in order to adapt to that, you need to learn how to passive shoot because otherwise you're telegraphing where you are when you kick. As soon as you kick that laser on, the enemy's seeing where it's coming from.
Sure.
So
I was going to ask you about that because I have very limited woodland night vision experience. All my shit's desert out here. How important is an illuminator where you're at?
So for years, actually I have it sitting right here. For years, I kept this old, I think this is a Surefire G2. It's old flashlight. I got issued this in 2004 in Iraq. And I don't have it on there right now, but I used to have this IR cover that would go over this. And I would use this flashlight, and this would be my IR illuminator. I used to always run this, but here's the problem. As the years have gone on, again, more and more people have night vision. So me kicking this on is like kicking on a white light.
Right.
The second I do that, the enemy's shooting at me. So I literally no longer run this at One Shepherd anymore with an IR illuminator. So the only advantage I see of an IR illuminator is CQB or any type of urban where like the fighting is close in. You're out in the woods and stuff, you aren't using an IR illuminator. Why? Because the enemy fucking has MVGs too. That's the reality of fighting against a peer threat. So that's my 2 cents. I didn't mean to kill the conversation, guys.
No, I was just saying, so would you say like, because for me, if more than 90% of the time I don't need an illuminator or a laser, I'd rather not have it and save the weight, not have all that weight on front of the gun.
Yeah, so I like having an IR laser just because it's like, hey, if I need to point something out to a peer, right, I can kick on my IR laser. It's like, hey, there it is. Especially if you're in the middle of a fight, and it's like, you know, at night, the vision is degraded even through MVGs. It's hard to, especially communicate to, you know, fellow warfighters like where stuff is. And I can't stress enough to you guys, like go to One Shepherd and go through an FTX and like fight against a pure threat. If you guys want great training, fight against a pure threat. It's eye-opening, absolutely eye-opening. All this like flat range shit where you're sitting there like kicking on flashlights and, you know, especially like night vision and shit. It's like, you can't do that. Right. You can, you're not going to last very long. You're going to get killed and it's humbling.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I like having a laser designator just because it's like, there are just times where it comes into handy. So I'm not ready to ditch one of those yet for only passive aiming because, you know, I'm a realist, right? There's going to be times where probably I can't passively aim. Maybe there's just no moon out and it's so fucking dark that the only way I am able to shoot is with that IR laser.
But do you need a laser or you just need an illuminator?
Well, you know, again, do I want to like kick out an illuminator where I'm sending out essentially an IR flashlight, or do I just want a precision fucking aiming point? You know, it's going to minimize my my targeting.
So here's my dilemma, right? I bought these Rate X's. The Rate X's are expensive. I don't know what I paid. They're thousands of dollars. They're like the high end. If you leave that thing on past 2 days, it dies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To where like I have this cheap hollow sun on a pressure switch, and I can kick it on months later and it's working.
Yeah.
Are the like the standard PECs like that too? Because all my experience is just with these Rate X's and this cheap hollow sun.
PEC 15, like military PEC 16s and PEC 15s, they usually last a while, right? They're running off of CR 123s. I bought one of those. I think it's called Slow Mo Gear. It's like an airsoft PEC 15, but it's full power. You heard about this? It's like a $300 full power freaking PEC 15 clone, and like they say, like it's for airsoft use only. But I've seen some videos of like dudes using these, and like they're holding zero relatively well. It's like, hey, most of my engagements at night with the PEC 15 are pretty close. Like they're 100 or in. I think it's good enough for that. So I bought one to try it out. I don't even know how I got on this conversation. Yeah, I've never had an issue with laser aiming devices like dying, but I don't leave those on 24/7. It's like I turn them on, and here's why. Like I turn them on for like when I'm gonna be using them, right? Like a night op, and then I turn them off because it's just like a flashlight. Like you can have a negligent discharge with your IR laser,
right?
And like again, you're telegraphing where you are. One thing that really fucking it absolutely destroys me. It pisses me off beyond fucking belief, right? So everybody is like home defense oriented, right? With Second Amendment and stuff. So it's like, hey, home defense rifle, optic, flashlight, all this shit, right? Absolutely, yes. Flashlight on your home defense weapon. You got to positively ID your threat. I've got small kids in my house. Maybe my kid went downstairs to get a fucking late night snack or something. Like I don't want to smoke my own child. Right? You absolutely need a flashlight on your weapon in your own house. Now, change the scenario. Now I'm running combat operations at One Shepherd out in the wilderness, right? Over vast, like over 100 acres of wilderness. I've got dudes out there with these white lights attached to their weapon. Dude, they're fucking hitting their white light on patrol. And there's been times where like we're moving to an attack position and fucking white lights are popping on it's like, on accident. And like, if you're looking through MVGs, oh my God, it's like, it's lighting up the whole forest. So
it probably like, blinds you too.
What's that?
It probably blinds you if you're wearing your NVGs too.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, momentarily, but it's like, if you're in a fighting position and you're on a sentry and you're like looking out, you're watching your sectors of fire, and all of a sudden you just see like the woods illuminate. Like, what are you going to do? Hey, fucking stand to, man. The fucking woods 300 meters out just lit up like a Christmas tree. Like something's out there, and now everybody's alerted to the enemy position. So yeah, like white light flashlights on your weapon are fantastic for like home defense, 100%. Like you need it, but transition that to infantry use out in the field against a pure threat with NVG capabilities, and I mean, hell, even normal vision at night. You know, white lights potentially can give your position away. So.
Funny story on light discipline. I was doing some shooting here not last weekend, 2 weekends ago. A friend of mine came up and we were doing some filming and stuff, and I didn't realize it until I was reviewing the video. Shooting pistol, you know, I don't even remember what drill we were shooting, but on the video I had the camera set out way out ahead of us, pointing back at us so you could see us from our front view.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, I look and see my light on my Glock is turned on, and I keep holstering it and pulling it out, and it's on the whole time. And you know, I never noticed that it's daylight out, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things of light discipline.
See
Yeah.
that?
And I'll put it on, and I'll put it. I'm gonna put that in the video whenever I get it posted. You know, after I get it edited. So, and I'll make mention of that as a light discipline point.
Go ahead, Dimitri.
Well, I was gonna say that's why I don't like pressure switches. And I've seen the button one. I've never used it. That seems a little bit more. You got to really get your thumb in there in order to engage it. But like a standard pressure switch, especially when people put it on a front carrying handle, maybe not a front carrying handle, but like a grip pod or like a forward grip. Like if you were to tape it up to your AUG, how often are you going to grab that fucking handle and squeeze?
Yeah.
It's instinctual to squeeze it. It's instinctual to squeeze that.
Right.
Yeah. But I gotta be careful, like, without showing this. But like, you know, for instance, here's a TLR1 attached to a inanimate object, right? And it's just a small little touch of the finger, and you know, that's activating a light. So it's like, you know, dudes are showing out with that or a pressure switch. Well, you know, you're patrolling, and that pressure switch is, you know, hitting against your gear or something, right? I understand it could be mounted to the top of your rifle. Well, your rifle, you'd like to think it's always going to be oriented in the same direction. It's never going to, dude. You're going through some thick brush where you got like branches and shit like grinding against your body as you're moving through them, especially at night.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised what that stuff gets into and what it does to your body.
Have you ever ran a 3-prong and crap like that where you're like through the woods?
No, because at one Shepherd you have a BFA attached to your AR, so.
Because you know how they talk about, oh, the 3-prong gets a bunch of shit stuck in it, but the A2 doesn't. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a wives' tale that is.
Yeah, because like I lived in Idlewild, California, which was very wooded, and I never ran into that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was out in the woods the other day, just kind of dinking around out there with my rifle, and my flip up sight on the front kept getting caught on vines and jagger bushes and everything, and just all of a sudden it's just dragging me back behind me. So, but here's the light on mine. I mean, it's 4 apart. So, but it's just a Surefire Surefire X300. You know, so somehow the switch on here got turned on and just never turned off or whatever. So whenever we were shooting the other day.
Brent, you know what you could try?
What's that?
When you guys are on patrol and you're gonna go, you know, you're moving, maybe have them unscrew their flashlight a quarter turn where it's just not turning on anymore.
Well, so that's what I would do with this. When I would take this into the field, and if I had it attached, I would unscrew it. So another option is what this guy's saying right here. There are companies that make like flashlight covers. So, but then again, it's like, okay, well, you know, you got a cover over your flashlight that you have to like literally manually remove. So it's like
the Enforce light has that little guard.
Yeah, that sucks. That did not work for me whatsoever, man. That shit.
Yeah, that thing always comes loose. They shoot it where you press it and then it like depresses and like unlocks or something. That and those suck. I mean, they just turn off all the time.
So Bruce is like all over Enforce nuts when it comes to like mounted nut. Oh yeah, he loves them. He absolutely loves them. So I bought one based on his recommendation, and then I took it to one Shepherd, and I think fucking it went on in my pack or I can't remember what the case was, but like it turned on the IR setting. So it's like I couldn't see it with my naked eye, but it was on all day with the IR setting. And then, you know, when like the fucking sun goes down, my battery's dead. So, yeah, that lock does not work.
So they sent me like 10 of them, and half of them just stopped working.
Is that right?
Yeah, they just, I don't know what the hell happened. They just didn't work. Some had a parasitic drain, so after a while, it would just kill the battery, even if it's off. Others were great. And I love the ergonomics to them. They're awesome to where you can just squeeze it, you know, and then you can go IR and white light. I love all that. If they made it reliable and they made it to where the little safety switch was harder to take on and off, they would have a pretty good product.
It seems to be that position on the AUG where it's at on the side. Like I kind of like that, you know, like with your finger, your trigger finger, you can, let's say you're about to make entry into a room or something, like fucking flick it on and then make entry.
Oh, so you're going to your trigger finger? Oh, interesting.
Well, I mean, it's right there. I don't have a pressure switch with that Enforce light or anything, so it's like, what else are you supposed to do?
I wish I could show you. So I use a Surefire. And it allows me to keep my finger on the trigger, and I engage it with my thumb at the same time.
Yeah, I thought you had an Enforce on your AUG.
I did, but I changed it.
Oh, you put something else on there?
Yeah, I found a better solution to it.
Gotcha.
But you can run into a situation where you're under stress, and you think you're hitting the light, and all of a sudden you shot around through somebody because you're using the same hand to do both actions. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the one thing with an AR. It's like, I'm right here. Everything is separated. The laser, everything is clean and further apart. So there are advantages to the AR. It's more rail space. You're able to mount lasers and lights and stuff and engage them much easier. And it's accurate. It's really hard to beat a really accurate AR with like match grade ammo. I mean, you could do some really, really high precision stuff. They're pretty accurate. So I'm not saying ditch your ARs, go get bullpups. Just understand there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. And bullpups have some advantages. I mean, that's all there's to it. I mean,
yeah, and the thing about these bullpups is like, they're going to be in excess of $1,000. It's like you can't get an entry. Like Palmetto State Armory is not making $500 bullpups. So, you know, dudes that are buying these are guys that are like, they've been shooting for a while, right? Like there's no entry level shooters that are just like, I'm going to go buy a Steyr AUG. Like it's going to be my first gun I've ever bought, you know, and drop fucking, you know, $1,200, $1,300 on one.
They'd be better off doing that because then they wouldn't have any bad habits or any misconceptions going into it.
That's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. So, I want to just show people what we were talking about with that Enforce. Now, this picture I believe is mirrored, so it's on the opposite side.
Right.
So, picture it is, it's flipped around. But you know, you guys can see how easily like he can come up with his trigger finger and engage that flashlight. You know, in my thought process, like, hey, if I'm kicking on this flashlight, it's probably like I'm identifying a target, right? Or I'm using it to identify something in a room. Like I'm doing CQB, I want to see in a room, so I'm kicking that flashlight. So it's like my finger shouldn't be on the trigger anyways. It's like my finger isn't going to be on the trigger unless I, you know, see a target, I've identified its enemy, and I'm about to drop the hammer on them. Or, you know, it's a dangerous situation where like I need to have my finger on the trigger ready to fire. So it's like, in my opinion, like it's straighten off the trigger, you know, coming up and hitting that button is not a big deal. It's in a good spot. So that was my thinking with that Enforce light and where that rail is positioned.
So the way I ran it, I would actually go into that. X95 is the second model of the Tavor. But I would go into that Tavor 8-point grip I'm talking about on the AUG and engage it this way while I kept my finger on the trigger.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's so weird to have thousands of rounds through an AR and all of a sudden jump into that.
This is an important comment I wanted to highlight because you told me when I was buying my AUG, you're like, don't buy the NATO one. Buy the original one because the AUG that takes NATO magazines doesn't have a bolt hold open. If you get an original AUG and use AUG magazines, it does have a bolt open. So
I have a big problem with not having a bolt hold open. The reason is, like an AK, I it drove me so crazy that I designed bolt hold open followers. I don't know. I think I sent you some, right?
Yeah. Yep.
If you guys have an AK, get the Weapon Tech bolt hold open followers. What it does is when you fire the last round, it keeps the bolt open. It doesn't keep the bolt open like an AR where you're going to take the mag, put a new mag in, and drop the bolt. That's not what it's for. It keeps the bolt open to let you know that you're dry. It's time to reload. So for me to have a failure to fire every 30 rounds, that's an issue. Think about that. Think about how unreliable your gun is now, that every 30 rounds, you pull that trigger waiting for a bang and you hear a click. If your AR did that, you'd lose your fucking mind, right? You'd be like, 100%. AR is broken. What's that?
I was just saying 100%. I agree with you. It's kind of like, you think about like the old M1 Garand. It's like, you had your 8 shots, and then after that 8th round, like, bing. Yeah. And like the urban legend is like, oh, you just gave your position away to your enemy. And it's like, really, like, come on.
These are weird shit.
There's explosions going off. There's machine guns going off. There's rifles going off. Do you really think somebody's keying in on, these audible pings, which aren't that loud in hindsight of like machine guns, and mortars, and explosions and all this other shit going on? Like, but that gave you that mindset of like, oh fuck, I'm out. I need to reload, right? And your bolt was locked open to the rear. So,
you know what drives me crazy? I'm a big fan of the advanced armament 3-prong, just any 3-prong. Well, not any 3-prong. It has to be configured within the Eugene Stoner original design. They're really, really good at killing the flash. Like really good. Like there's like almost nothing there. And people complain that they ping. They're like, it pings. And it's like, who gives a shit? Dude, you're shooting a gun. Like, what are you fucking talking about? It's so nuts. That one.
Yeah, no, I mean it's 100%. That's a real, like, you're firing a weapon. It's not exactly a quiet thing. So, well, I hope we don't lose Dimitri.
Oh, in my security system, because it pinged and the dog's going nuts. So I had to see who it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't get that. Can I rant?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've kind of reached culmination with the bullpup stuff, so it's like it's kind of fair game right now.
Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. I gotta do this real quick.
Yeah, I feel a buzz from the whiskey I'm drinking, so I'm gonna rant.
Me too.
Okay. One, the pinging sound. That's just stupid. I don't even want to like. 2, black multicam. What the fuck? What is that supposed to blend in with?
Dude, I bought these Ultima, what are they called? Maritime assault shoes. And they're in black multicam. They were fucking like $30 because they were on sale.
I can't talk to you.
What's that?
I can't talk to you anymore.
No. I didn't buy them because of camouflage pattern. They were just on sale. I was like, oh, they're Ultima Maritime assault shoes. Like these are going to be fucking great just to wear for whatever reason, right? Not operationally.
Yeah.
They're fucking horrible. They hurt my feet. They're terrible. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, I say that to say this: they had black multicam. So.
But like, I don't get it because like, black sucks under night vision, right? Like that's like the worst color.
It's like the old urban camo, right? You remember the woodland that was like white, gray, and black?
That stuff does a decent job in snow.
Right. Well, but it wasn't a snow camouflage pattern. No, it was called urban. It was designed for urban environment.
Right.
All that stuff, all the urban patterns like urban tack tiger, I think it's called urban tiger. Like all that stuff is just for intimidation. Like
what's the best urban pattern? Say it.
No, I ain't gonna say it. Desert Marpat. Don't go down that road. I will roast the fuck out of you.
Oh man.
Fucking trash glued to your head. I will admit that UCP is very good under night vision. I've confirmed that with my own eyes.
Yeah.
But I've also been on a live fire range, right, where I'm in the range tower. If you guys have ever been on active duty, any military base where you're on a range, and they got these huge like range control towers, and you're up in them, and you can just see for thousands of meters, right? And I've seen Army guys downrange back when they wore UCP, and like they were standing out like a sore thumb out there on the range. Multicam was pretty good, and this is in excess of like 700, 800, 900 meters away from this tower.
What's the background? Is it like woodland or greenish or what?
It was it was a woodland environment, and this is out in the grass. So on the same token, woodland Marpat, like our Marines out there in this like open grassy area,
Look black.
were like, they were like black figures, right? They're really dark. But you take them and then like when they walk past the tree line, they're fucking gone.
Right.
Disappear.
Right.
So as opposed to the UCP guys, they were just fucking little like chem sticks fucking walking around.
But UCP is really like here's just my testing, right? And I'm not saying that it's a good pattern, blah blah blah. It's obviously not a universal pattern. There's no such fucking thing.
Right. 100%.
Like a reversible or something. There's no such thing. But I think it's safe to say that it matches roads, curbs, concrete, modern urban stuff pretty well. It's actually the top performing NATO pattern in night vision.
I believe it.
NATIC, their test results and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of what they were going after, is we own the night. It's a night vision camo / urban. They thought that, all the wars are going to be fought in urban and at night. Well, sometimes you end up in woods. And here, my testing in woods, it actually did pretty well in tree canopy. When it gets all dark and you're like behind shit instead of front of shit, you don't silhouette as much. It does a decent job under a canopy. Now, when you're out and the sun hits you and you got green behind you, it just looks absolutely ridiculous. It's like you're on fire. And what happens is when the sun hits it, it looks more like a desert pattern. And out here in my deserts, as you saw in the test that we did, it does okay. It's not the best, but it does okay. I think they should keep it as an urban night vision deserty type pattern, but to try to pass it off as like universal is just horseshit. That's not going to happen.
I think what happened, man, is like, and I remember this back in the day, it was like, oh, the next war is going to be fought in an urban setting. Like, I remember hearing like the Army talking about this, like it's going to be urban this, urban that, night vision, IR, and this, that, and the other. And so when they did these tests, and like you can find the studies, like UCP didn't do very well in a lot of the environments, but where it did excel was obviously night vision in an urban setting, right? So here you had the Army back then talking like, fucking next war is going to be an urban setting. Oh, and by the way, peer threats have night vision, so we need something that has night vision. Oh, and by the way, there's another fucking problem, identification of friendly forces. Well, if all our guys are wearing this shit, which like nobody else in the world wears this, like it's going to help our guys identify each other better. And I think all this, and like what you said, Dimitri, like, yeah, it works good enough, right? It's good enough in those settings. And I think once that was the case, it was signed off on. And that's how you guys got UCP. The Army got UCP.
In my testing, because I've seen those NATIC charts or whatever, right? Like, those charts aren't, I don't know how they did their testing, but like the British DMP or whatever, or DPM, it was like one of the top ranking pattern. Well, out here in my desert, it sticks out like a fucking sore thumb. I think the best desert pattern, and it's hard to beat, is Marpat. Marpat is very, very effective in the desert.
Desert Marpat.
Desert Marpat, right. So like, I don't think their testing is like, I'm not sure how they test it or what, but I can tell you as far as the desert stuff, the British stuff is not the best, not anywhere near. And you know, my desert, right? It's not like regular desert. You got green desert, then you got like semi-green desert, and then you got sage, and then you got like, you know, tungsten, like powder Iraq type desert. So I've tested in all those environments. Not a single one did this DPM or whatever outperform the Marpat. Not even close, or the UCP.
Some of it's just too dark for where you're at there, Dimitri.
Well, what's weird is that, like, if you look at behind us, right, it's like tan. But if you go 200 meters to or right behind us, I don't know if you could see, it's green.
Right.
The optimal pattern would be like woodland Marpat. And then you get up on the mountains, and the mountains are gray. So UCP actually perform. See, like this picture there, UCP would match the concrete. When people say, oh, it only blends in gravel pits, well, if you're like downtown LA or downtown Vegas or overseas somewhere, and you're in a concrete jungle, the UCP is going to work okay. It's going to work better than multicam. To where, like, multicam where I'm at doesn't work very well. It works well only in the greens. All the tan sections like that, it's like too dark.
What about the arid multicam?
That works really well. Yeah, the arid version is pretty effective. But
see, I'm a big proponent of mixing and matching different camouflage patterns. You know, I might wear AOR2 bottoms and tropical multicam on top. All my gear is multicolored. Some of it's coyote, some of it's OD green, some of it's multicam. You know, it's all kind of mixed and matched, and I think doing that breaks up everything really well.
Yeah, when you it depends. Like, if everything is tan behind you, then not so much. But if you have a mix of colors, then yeah, that's gonna really break up your silhouette.
That's desert DPM, Dimitri, and that's what we're talking about.
It just doesn't work that good out here.
I think it's because like that's an actual desert. So that picture's from Desert Storm. Where you're at, like, there's actual vegetation.
Well,
minus those like sand pits, but
remember that lake bed we shot at?
Yeah, that's that one picture I had up.
It didn't do that good over there. You know what did really good there was Sandstorm, which is weird because as soon as I go to other parts of my desert, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. So you got to have the right camo for the area that you're at. I mean, you can't look at, what are the cool kids wearing? You got to look at what works where you're at. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I got to throw this out there because a lot of people are probably watching this and are like, how's this like guy that created all these reticles, like, why is he so involved with camouflage? Well, that's actually how Dimitri and I met. Back in the day, that's all I used to do is like the camouflage videos. And Dimitri's like, he used to design camouflage. So he's balls deep into like camouflage and camouflage design and everything else. So it's like, that's how he and I connected.
So I've spent a lot of time, like, a decade and a half testing patterns. And one of the things that I've learned, and I don't think that many people really quite understand it, I think their camo happens to hit it on accident and they don't realize it. The way camo looks depends on light. If I'm wearing woodland camouflage, like woodland Marpat, and the sun is directly at me, I'm going to match the woodland perfectly. But if the sun is behind me, I'm going to look like I'm wearing a black outfit.
Yes, 100%.
So that's the one thing with the UCP that I think a lot of people miss is that when the sun is on you, it's designed to match desert, concrete, that kind of thing. Snow even, which I think is a big mistake. They should have never even imagined having snow as part of that little, that's just, you're doing too much. And that's where like engineers are designing stuff. They're not the actual user, so they're engineering. That's the advantage that I have, is I'm a shooter first and engineer second. So I know what we need. I'm not just some nerd, in a lab going, oh yeah, let's make it fucking work everywhere. Like that's not going to work.
They're basically engineering it in a lab and not in real world situations.
Right. Yeah. And that's the one thing I noticed with UCP is that when it's dead on you, you look very light. So if you have a woodland background behind you, you're on fire. You might as well be wearing desert Marpat. To where when it's behind you or in angles, it looks more subdued and seems to match a lot of, I call it shadow lining, where it's like the sun is behind you, not in front of you. And it seems to match this like, it's like it's almost like a black and white color. Like you're not really seeing color anymore because the sun is behind you. It's hard to describe.
So, no,
basically you're silhouetted.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch the camo videos I've done, you'll see it all the time. And the natural byproduct of this is like people say, oh, Brent, you're too dark, or that pattern is too dark. And it's because the sun is hitting me from a different angle, right? It's projecting a shadow on the front side that you're seeing towards the camera.
Right.
It's literally just about every pattern. Now, the alternative of that is like wearing UCP, where it's like you're very light, right? So it's like when the sun hits you from behind, it's not as dark on the front. But then the flip side of that is like you're wearing a very light pattern.
Right.
So yeah, it does mitigate the black blob effect, but you're a very light pattern compared to your surroundings.
I think they screwed up. If they would have made it khaki and sage greenish instead of white and bluish, it would be far more effective in a lot. Like if you look at the I got some right here, the Chinese version, right? Like the knockoffs, this part here is more of like a khaki color, and then the gray parts are more like sage gray. They're not blue gray. When you get that blue, it just sticks out. It's just like you could tell
it's naturally found color. It's not a naturally found color.
Exactly, it's not a natural color. It's like it's blue. Well, UCP originally came from Urban Track, and Urban Track was an urban camo. That's where it all starts. And when they say like black's not found in nature, you know how they say that, like black's not.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, right? Because every shadow creates black.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So the reason they did that is because it shows up bad under night vision. The whole thing is we own the night. Like 90% of their operations are at night. So that's kind of where they try to maximize the pattern, is to work in night, urban. I have tested it in snow, and it was actually pretty good in snow. I was surprised how good it was. Where it just absolutely fails is when you have a green or a darker background and the sun is hitting you. It just looks like you look like a snowman or something.
Have you ever tried to bleach any UCPs? Will they even bleach for the snow?
Yeah, so I didn't bleach it. What I did is I added what the hell is the name of that? I think it's copper by what's the company that does the little dyes? Do you know, like
Rit dye or
right?
Okay.
I took copper of that and I dyed it. And what it did is it took that shininess that UCP has. It just looks like just completely unnatural. It made that white turn into more of like a khaki color, like darker. and it became insanely effective. Insanely effective. It worked pretty good.
Yeah, where Bruce dyed the shit with the apple green.
Apple green, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
It's good, huh?
Yeah.
I need to send him some of my UCP and have him dye it that green.
So good, by the way, that this dipshit on TikTok has like copied a lot of my stuff, and that was the video he posted today. he took that video of Bruce and I that we did with him with the dyed apple green UCP.
So my humble opinion, right? What do I know? I think the camo pattern that they should have is something like the UCP. But as soon as you know you're going to whatever area, find the optimal dye and dye all your camis, all your gear, everything that optimal color. So if you're going to like jungle, you go apple green and turn it into what Bruce did. If you're going to like my areas, you take a little bit of that copper or whatever that color is and turn it just a hair darker than that white blue. So it would allow you to truly have a universal pattern. You could dye it exactly what color you're going to be needing wherever you're going to be at. You know, if you know you're going to be in Iraq for the next 10 years, you dye it whatever that optimal color is for Iraq.
So you know who does that? And obviously the British have that multi-terrain pattern now, which looks a lot like multicam. But before that, when they had DPM, you know, they had their desert DPM in Afghanistan. And they did that. They dyed because they were in. I think they were down in Helmand, and there's areas of Helmand that are very vegetated. So they were dyeing their desert DPM with green dye to give it, you know, more of a green appearance. But you know, I commend them for their latitude on that, right? Because like I can't see the U.S. military ever doing that, even, you know, regardless whether if it's Marines or Army. I just can't see Marines or Army soldiers dyeing their uniforms to match it. I'm talking about like regular infantry. I'm not talking about like specialized units or snipers or anything like that. But like regular infantry, I can't see them with that latitude. And like I commend the British on that because you know, they do that, right? They take that initiative to do stuff like that. They have scrim in their Kevlar helmets, right? When I was training with the Royal Marines, like they had a bar, and this is their reserve unit. They had a bar for their officers and their staff NCOs. They had a bar for their NCOs, and then they had a bar for their fucking like regular Marines on every like level of their drilling center. It was amazing, and I'm like, there's not in a million years would this ever happen in the Marines or in the U.S. Army. Would there be like 3 or 4 bars in a fucking reserve drilling center? So it's like the British do a lot of stuff that I absolutely love, and I wish we could adopt in our mindset, change our ways, right? And something so simple as like, yeah, if your camouflage does not blend into the environment, fucking adapt it with some dye, you know, as opposed to like, no, you have to have a uniform standard and you have to look a certain way. Dude, it's combat. Make the necessary changes.
How well did Bruce's man dress work where you guys live?
We never tested where we were, but we tested obviously where you were, and it was amazing out there.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
What was crazy is seeing it under night vision. It looked like you were looking through him.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Just a bullshit like Afghan man dress that we bought on like eBay, and it was performing amazingly out there in the desert.
Yeah, I mean it. There's very few patterns that I say worked a little bit better than it. But overall, I mean, that to me that looked like it would match where you guys are at even too.
Yeah,
good pattern I think for out here on the East Coast, maybe even for you, Bruce, or Brent, I'm sorry. In the fall and winter time would be the 6-color desert, the chocolate chip pattern.
It does work good.
I've been wanting to get a set of them and try it out. I'm gonna try to get a set for this winter.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, but I've done a video on it. It was old video. It's from years ago, but I've done an effectiveness test with it in my environment. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It does blend in pretty good. It's not perfect, but considering like, hey, this is surplus stuff, and even you can get like commercial reproductions of it. It actually does do a decent job of blending
Right.
in the fall and winter.
Yeah, in a woodland environment.
Yes.
In the forest, all you see is brown and different shades of gray and black out there in the woodland. So I think it works really well.
So my friend Gunny, the guy that we talked to on the phone that one day,
Yeah.
he's got a story where he put on his desert camis, which was the not the chocolate chip or whatever. That's what you guys were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was making fun of him, like, Gunny, why are you wearing that? We're in woodland, blah, 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 blah. And then they saw him like walk out in the field and they were like, holy shit. They're like, you disappeared in a woodland. Because a lot of woodland is brown, like especially fall, winter, that kind of thing. It's more of that brown color. And then when you guys came out, remember when Ken had to engage that thing with that? I think we all did with the, I wasn't shooting, you guys were, but we put the t-shirt over that steel.
Yeah.
That shit was so hard to see. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh. It was I brought a 6-color desert t-shirt or something out there. We threw on a target and it was like fucking undetectable almost.
Yeah, that was hard to pick up for sure. And like I knew where it was at because I set it up. So I'm like looking, going, okay, where the fuck is this thing? And it was like, it was hard. It was hard to see it. It seems like to have an actual universal. Do you remember that pattern that I keep sending you guys? That it's called all over brush. All over desert brush. No, desert brush is the name.
The one you created?
No, it's actually what won the Army trials. That study that you're talking about, where you saw like so that was the overall winner, and they never made it. They made a couple uniforms of it, and that stuff looked very effective. If you Google desert brush U.S. Army camo testing, you'll see it. And it reminds me of like that Rhodesian pattern, but it's like it's not like an arid desert where it's like so much tan. It's like in between khaki desert. So it's enough where it matches woodland and desert. Did you just look it up or what?
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up here in a minute.
So that's actually what won. And they never did anything with it. Well, that I know of. And in their report, it says significantly like more effective than it beat out multicam, it beat out everything.
There we go.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that being really effective for sure.
Can you click on one? Because it just shows a whole bunch of pictures. We can't really see it. It won't let you. If you go to like Google Image and click it, it will probably. Is that what you're under?
Yeah, it's not showing up though.
Oh. But yeah, that stuff looked pretty good. It looked like you could go pretty much anywhere and match up.
When me and Brent were out at the Sear Challenge at Randall's at Grunt Proof, his woodland, his basic M81 woodland worked really effectively, and I wore just regular multicam out there, and it worked really effectively too. But in that area we were at, the manzanita bushes, which were everywhere.
Interesting.
They had what's that?
I said interesting that you said manzanita. Go ahead.
Yeah, the leaves on the manzanitas were almost identical pattern to the multicam pattern. They were very close.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they come in different shades, because where I lived at, we had so much manzanita, and what matched it perfect, like it's almost like made for it, was a flecktarn.
That would be good too. Yeah.
What's really good about multicam is that when the sun is on you, it looks like arid, deserty. Not arid. It looks like just deserty, like a flat, dark earth almost.
Mm-hmm.
To where when the sun is behind you, or you got tree shadows on you, it looks like woodland. It looks like a woodland camo.
Right.
And that's what's so good about it is that, and I don't think they meant to do that. I think it was just an accident. And or I don't know, maybe they did meant to do it, but it just seems really strange that it matches the desert with the sun on you, but as soon as the sun is to your side or behind you, it's too dark. It looks way too dark.
It almost washes you out whenever it's on you, when the sun's on you.
To where like Marpat, desert Marpat, it's like, if people think of it as like, oh, it matches the tans. It actually matches the greens really well when it's behind you. When it's behind you, desert Marpat matches my desert greens amazingly. It's like, what the fuck? It's like a dark, flat, dark earth. And because the sun is behind you, it doesn't look tan anymore. It looks more like the mid color of desert Marpat. It's like what, 3 colors? Desert Marpat is 3 or I forget. 3, right?
It's green, coyote, and black, I believe. Maybe there's a brown. I can't remember.
No. Desert
Marpat
on. Desert.
Dark brown, like a coyote, and a tan, and like a little gray, a little bit of a gray in there too.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I think we might be reaching culmination here. We definitely went in the right field.
Don't we always?
Yeah.
I mean, you can only talk about Bullpup so much. Yeah. So dark brown, mid brown. Did you give me this? I think you gave me this.
No, I give you a combat shirt and trousers.
Oh, you gave me frog stuff, no?
Yeah, the frog stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you got the dark brown, mid brown, and light. When the sun is behind you, it matches this like mid stuff, like this flat dark earth looking color, and it just blends in like crazy out here.
Yeah, I like your environment. It's interesting to say the least.
Nevada's pretty awesome.
It's a trip. It's like you can go into like so many different areas and match different,
Well, it's like that one time where we went out there and we did the camo testing and we like brought a whole bunch of desert patterns. That was a bitch getting all that shit out there, by the way, FYI. But that was a lot of fun though, just to see what was working out there and what wasn't. You had surprised.
You had like what, 3 suitcases with you, or something, no?
No, I didn't have that much. I had a huge kit bag, or not kit bag, but deployment bag on wheels, and that was stuffed. And luckily, because I am a serviceman, they don't charge me for like my baggage and stuff, so I was able to bring like 2 bags. But yeah, it was we bought a lot of shit, and I just don't know how we were able to pack all that into that one weekend because we were shooting from sun up to sundown, and then like that one day we just dedicated to camouflage testing. It took fucking forever because it's like we'd go out there, change, go shoot 3 or 4 scenes with each pattern, come back, each guy, you, me, and Bruce would change into a different pattern. We fucking tested a shitload of patterns, and you guys can go see that video. It's been uploaded for years. But I mean, I can't believe
that video.
What's that?
It's a pretty badass video.
Yeah, the only shitty part was I got hit with a copyright strike on it because the wind was so bad that day that I had to replace the audio so that people bitch about everything in YouTube. It's like there's a cicada, buzzing in the background and it's annoying. How dare you upload a video with that?
Yeah, right. None of them are paying for shit.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not God. I can't control the fucking cicadas and the wind and all that other shit. So, anyways, the wind was terrible that day when we filmed this, so it was like really awful. You did my best. I think I had Dimitri's like door open to try to block the wind, but it was still too bad. So I had to replace the audio with like some like natural, like soothing sound from like an ocean breeze, on the beach. And I did this, and at the time, if you go on YouTube and you like search like royalty free music or whatever, like you'll find a bunch of shit. Well, here's the insider secret, and you learn this the hard way. Not all of it's royalty free. Those motherfuckers like set up like this copyright content ID stuff, and it's like, yeah, they may list their YouTube video as like royalty free, and then you use it in your video, and then they match you with it. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened with me on that one. Is like I had replaced it with like some, beach blowing, soothing sound, and then they hit me with a content ID like copyright fucking shit. So I can't remember what I did. Maybe I replaced it or something, or maybe it's demonetized all the way, or I might maybe all the ad revenue goes straight to them. I can't remember what it was. Something stupid.
I hated that sound too. When you added that, I was like, I fucking hate that sound.
Yeah, but it was even with that, it was better than the constant wind blowing. So.
Yeah, it was bad. But you know what was crazy is like, I'm not gonna mention patterns because I know there's guys that are just fucking nuts, right? Like, because you have an international crowd that follows you. But there was a lot of patterns that looked like shit. They didn't work at all. Like. You could see like, yeah,
but I mean the flip side of that is like there are places in the world that are just completely different, right? And it's like I think French desert looks a lot like three color, and that looked terrible, in your desert, but probably looks really good over in fucking Mali. You know what I'm saying? Like.
I wonder if like France's desert kind of matches that better, like,
yeah.
Do they have any kind of desert? No, not really. Right. Maybe
I'm sure
they're mountainous areas.
Well, so here was another one in that same video. Three color desert didn't perform very well. Now the caveat to that was I was wearing some three desert camis that I had wore in Iraq, right? Back in like 2004. And they were bleached, so I'm not bleached, but they were sun bleached, right? So they were a lot whiter than brand new three color desert, but it was still three color desert. It still had its color. It's not like they were just like pure white, but that didn't perform very well either out there. But if you go back to the history of how we got the three color desert, we got chocolate chip because they were looking at places like where you live, Dimitri. In the American Southwest, and designing those desert patterns off of that territory. And then we go to Desert Storm, and it's like, oh, fuck, this is wide open desert. This isn't the rocky deserts that we have in the States. This is wide open desert. So that's how we get the three color desert, right? Well, then you go back to this, the fucking Southwest in the United States, and you try to take that three color desert and put it in there, and it's like not as good as it is over in like the Kuwaiti desert, for instance. So it's just, give and take.
Wasn't this made in World War II?
What is that? I can't tell. Is it the frog? Yeah. So that was designed. That was actually designed to blend in with the beaches. So you had the tan side, which was designed to blend with beaches, right? And then you have the reverse side, which would be the green side. So the theory being is like, hey, Marines hit the beach. Their tan side out to blend in with the beach. And then as operations move inward, they reverse their helmet covers, and now they're green side out to blend in with the, the jungle environment or whatever that's on the island. So that was the thinking behind that green side, brown side out back then.
So this matches my deserts like crazy.
Oh, I'm sure. I love the little frog camo.
And the green version matches the green version, the green parts like crazy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. But so if you bring up that camouflage pattern, without hesitation, I will have commenters saying, well, the U.S. military did trials and they said that it was not, good while moving and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, maybe they did.
That I don't understand. I've heard people say that while I'm moving.
Right.
What's good while I'm moving? What the fuck are you talking about? I can see you could wear whatever you want. You move, I'm gonna see you.
Right. Yeah. Movement is like the number one giveaway of anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what camouflage you have.
Yeah.
Right. But so here's the thing about that study, because I looked up what they were talking about, right? So it's like they looked at camouflage because back in the early World War II days, you had Marines with those camouflage utilities, from head to toe with that frog camo. So when they did that study, they found that this camouflage pattern is effective when stationary, right? But when Marines are on the move, we think that the regular sateen OD style utilities conceals you a little bit better than the camouflage utilities while on the move. So they weren't saying that it was a shit pattern. Quite the opposite. They're actually saying it was a really good pattern. However, they were saying that the regular sateen, green camis were better and less noticeable on the move, right? But that translates nowadays to people saying, "Oh, it's a shit pattern." They stopped using it in uniforms because they went to straight OD. That's not entirely true. So
when we were doing field ops down south, I wore strictly OD green Vietnam style uniform.
Really?
And it worked awesome. It was usually if we were in a darker environment, it worked really well there. If we were in a lighter environment in the field, it worked really well there. And you get dirty with it, it makes dark spots, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just at one Shepherd, one uniform is woodland and the opposite uniform is OD. And same thing. People go there and they think the OD is not going to be as effective as the woodland. Well, dude, you get out there and after the first day, you're running around, you're moving around, you're sweating, you're getting dirty. Dude, those ODs fucking do fantastic.
Yeah. I'm surprised no one's made an OD green and khaki mix. Because khaki seems to match a lot of places. I was watching Ken in your latest video when you guys were running through the woods. When
he's VC? No, well, that video hasn't posted yet. Dimitri, don't talk too much about it.
Oh. Poor Ken. You guys are always shooting that poor guy.
He's the only Asian actor we got.
I thought Bruce was Asian.
No, he appears Asian, but he's from Georgia.
He's like 10%.
Yeah.
Married to a Latino.
Yeah, he's funny. Hey, for the longest time, that was the running joke. People legitimately thought Bruce was Asian, and I don't know how, but it was from a World War II video we did where we were testing SS camouflage patterns from World War II, and Bruce has. We couldn't put camouflage paint, right? Because the fucking German SS didn't have camouflage paint. But their faces would be dirty, so they would have dirt and smear. So that's what we did in that video is we took dark black cami paint and we just kind of smudged it on our face just to make our faces look dirty, right? Well, I kid you not. You watch that video, Bruce looks Asian in that video, and this is where it all spawned from. And people watched that and they thought he was Asian, so they were making all these comments I've never seen an Asian German.
That's funny because that's what I thought too when I first saw him in that. I was like, Bruce looks Asian.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about how he did his smeared black cami paint makeup, but it absolutely makes him look Asian in that. And it was a running joke. It's still a running joke. We still fucking fuck with him about it.
How good was that German camo though? That shit was mind blowing.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah, it's crazy.
That was nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. how legit that camouflage is back then. I would say that it's better than their Flectarn that they adopted after the fact, right? So
I'm not there to see it with the naked eye to see what you guys are seeing, but to me, it looked more effective than a lot of patterns that I've seen over there.
yeah, well, so here's the thing, like, man, they were so far ahead of their time, right? And I mean, honestly, the Marines were doing it too. Like we had reversible camouflage in World War II, but like in the European theater, like the Germans were exclusively using camouflage. So it made the European allies like not and U.S. allies obviously too not use camouflage as much because the Germans were using it so predominantly that they didn't want friendly fire instances. But man, the Germans had reversible smocks and like what do they call those? Zelt bands. The Zelt bands that they had. They put those fucking Zelt bands over them. One side would be like a green dominant, and the opposite side would be like autumn and winter. More of a a winter camouflage. So,
I have a camo that I want to send to you. Let me grab it really quick. You guys go ahead and talk. I'll go grab this thing.
So, but yeah, it's amazing, man. Jared, I don't know how much you've like looked into World War II camouflage patterns, but
A little bit.
yeah, the German camouflage patterns during World War II were just phenomenal. And then it's like
spot on.
Yeah, and then it's like the war ends, right? And then obviously Germany's divided up into two, and then it's like you're developing your West German army, and they can't use the old Nazi era patterns because they don't want that
They don't want that stigma from it.
Yeah, so they have to like come up with new stuff, and it's like even though that stuff was very effective, and that's how we got the what is it, tan and water camouflage pattern. There was a World War II variant of that, but there was a later variant that was adopted by the German border guards that was also very effective. It looks just like it looks very similar to the World War II variant, but it is different. What you got there, Dimitri?
So this is Russian. Have you ever seen it before?
No, what is that?
So I don't know. I found it online. So it looks like a brown, gray, and khaki.
It's like a little bit of green in there too.
On one side. And then the other side is like mid green, dark green, and khaki.
It's interesting. What kind of garment is that? I got guys asking in the comment section. Is that a Gorka?
Oh, fuck, I have no idea. It's not like a regular, like, look at that. I've never fucking seen that anywhere before. It's some kind of like molly.
Oh, that's for I think that's for vegetation, or like jute burlap or something like that.
Oh, so you think it's like a ghillie suit base?
Well, not necessarily a ghillie suit base, but like a lot of, and I'll concede this fact: like Europeans are way better at individual camouflage than we are here in the U.S. 100%. We are like in the U.S. military, we are like lockstep in like uniformity, right? Everybody's got to be this cookie cutter image, and I think it's starting to change now, but that's what's like kept, individual warfighters, infantrymen from like keeping fucking cami netting on their Kevlar helmets. It's just like, first sergeants and sergeants major, like, no, you will be fucking, XYZ. You all look the same. As opposed to like, no, dude, you need to put fucking cami netting on your Kevlar to help break up your human silhouette. Anyways, I say that to say this. European militaries, it seems to me, are better about camouflage patterns. Well, not camouflage patterns per se, but like camouflaging, right? So it's like you see those guys, they adding foliage to their helmets, adding cami netting to their helmets. Their uniforms will have things like that, those little ties for inserting vegetation or inserting, artificial vegetation into the uniform to help break up that human silhouette. So our shit generally doesn't have that because we take on the high speed fucking low drag look. Like every guy needs to look like he's part of fucking SEAL Team 6.
I mean, if they did like kind of like that desert brush, like not completely desert and not completely woodland, that in between.
Yeah.
And then all your mag pouches and stuff were reversible, and all your gear was reversible. Yeah, but maybe they don't want to. They don't want to have blue on blue. You know, they don't want to end up shooting their own people.
I don't mind. Like, so the Marine Corps, we used to have woodland colored flak and gear, right? And then we went to Coyote. Coyote became our, like, what OD used to be. That's what Coyote became for the Marines. So, like, all our gear is Coyote so that it blends into the different environments. Because supposedly there was a study that was conducted by Marine Corps Scout snipers were a big part of it. And, like, Coyote was that color that blended both into a desert and a woodland environment, like, equally. Kind of like UCP. It wasn't, like, super effective, but it was there, it's present, and it works in both environments. So that's why Marine gear is Coyote. But the problem is it's still a solid color, right? And although it works okay, it's not the perfect solution. So my opinion is we should be able, as Marines, we should be able to tailor our gear and camouflage patterns to whatever environment we're working in. If you got Marines that are deployed to the South Pacific, right? They're like those stand-in forces that are in the South Pacific waiting for the Chinese to act a fool and fuck around to find out. Like, they should be able to fucking take some rattle can to their gear and add camouflage pattern, break up that gear.
So here's something that's interesting is, I'm guessing a lot of your crowd probably knows because you're known for camo. So you got a lot of camo diehards following you. But AOR 1 and AOR 2 and UCP were actually designed by the Army. It was designed by, what are they called? Natick Labs.
Yeah.
And MARPAT derives from AOR 1 and AOR 2. So when it hit Marine Corps testing, a lot of the snipers felt like AOR was too green. And that's why MARPAT turned into this like coyote brownish based. That coyote brown, it's like that's a weird color that it matches a lot of fucking places. It's pretty effective.
I thought MARPAT came from CADPAT from Canada, from their pattern.
The design, yes.
The pattern itself comes from CADPAT. CADPAT was like the original digital, but AOR 1 and AOR 2 actually, one of them, I think AOR 2 went vertical. So the pattern is more like this than like this. I don't know if you guys have noticed that on the woodland version.
I have to look at it. So, like, I have no regrets of the Marine Corps going to MARPAT. Like, I think MARPAT is a fantastic camouflage pattern. I love the fact that we're still a two-pattern military, right? Like, if we're going in a woodland environment, we're wearing woodland MARPAT. If we're going to a desert environment, we're wearing desert MARPAT.
Right.
You'll be issued your gear accordingly and uniforms accordingly. And the Marine Corps has been that way for 90% of my Marine Corps career. I came to the Marine Corps.
See that?
This is AOR 2.
See, it's vertical.
Yeah, it does look vertical.
Right.
So, in my humble opinion, the Marine Corps, there's AOR 3, and a lot of people haven't heard of AOR 3. In AOR 3, can you Google that?
Yeah.
So AOR 3 is like a multi-terrain version that they made. And it was never, it might have been issued to some unit, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just a fat guy shooting in the desert. But AOR 3 is like a multicam digital version of AOR. Is it popping up?
Not really.
Type in AOR3 camo and go to like Google Images.
Okay, I might have found it. It's not specified.
It will be just one shirt. That's all there is of it. It's like one shirt. Like there's one picture of it. No, that's 1 and 2.
Is it in the middle, right here?
No,
That's not it.
I can't tell. That looks like AOR2. Go to Google Images. And type in AOR3 camo shirt. I don't know, camo. That's images. You're under shopping, no? If I text it to you, can you pull it up?
No. I just think you're smoking dope and you're just making shit up right now.
What if I'm right? What do I get then? That might be it right there. Click on that.
That looks like desert.
It looks like a mid.
AOR1.
Oh, it's AOR1.
Yeah, I think you're smoking dope.
No.
Anyways,
It popped up for me right away.
what whatever. Wait. Well, we're at the 2 hour mark, so
Am I drunk and yapping away or what?
well, I'm afraid that I'm gonna say some shit that's gonna get me in trouble because I've had multiple glasses of Crown Royal tonight.
You're going to talk about GP or what?
No.
I just texted it to you. That's AOR3.
I haven't got it.
Hmm.
Anyways, rabbit hole.
We never do that.
So
I pulled that one up, dude. That's the one that was in the middle.
yeah, that's AOR3. That's not desert.
Yeah, that was let me show it. For those that are still
That's their multi-terrain version of it.
It looks like their AOR1 with some green mixed into it.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a mid-transitional type pattern.
but I would argue like they did it right. So like multicam, like I'm not all over multicam's nuts like everybody else, right? I think it's a good pattern. I'm not shitting on multicam at all. I think it's a great pattern. It's about a 70% solution in just about every environment. Well, 70% is pretty fucking good, right? That's
Right.
passing.
Right.
So, like Jared's point, during the SEER challenge, like I never saw him and he never saw me while I was wearing Woodland. But like in Jared's case, like I stepped right on top of him and he was right fucking next to me and I didn't see him. And he was wearing multicam in those Manzanitas. So, I mean, it's a good pattern. It might not be the best pattern, but it's pretty good. So it's like an overall good pattern. So like I can't argue with the Army about going to that decision. In the end, I am all for what the Marine Corps has done. And the Marine Corps, like I was saying, like for the 90% of my career, I came in when we had Woodland, but we transitioned to multicam Marpat. And we've been using Marpat ever since. So for over 20 years, we've been using Marpat. Whereas the Army has fucking changed uniforms, God knows how many fucking times. The Marine Corps had the same uniform that it had from when we first switched. So
they didn't really go to multicam. This Scorpio or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Scorpion.
It looks like shit out here.
Really?
Yeah, it's much darker than multicam. Much darker.
I remember seeing some things about it being darker, and I actually did tests. But I think the scorpion pattern performs better in a more
Woodland.
vegetated woodland environment.
It does. It does work better in the greens. But I guess you can just, if you're in a lighter area, you can get it fucking dirty as fuck, right? Just add a bunch of dirt to it and lighten it up. But in my humble opinion, it's not as effective as the original multicam or the AOR. Not AOR. What was that called? OCP. OCP. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the acronym for? Operational camouflage pattern or something like that.
Right.
It was like UCP was not faring very, very well in Afghanistan. So they started issuing people multicam, and I think they called it OCP.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So OCP works really good where I'm at. Multicam works pretty good. They're almost like the same thing, but Scorpion is like too dark. It's like a woodland camo or something.
It's almost tropical, isn't it?
It's not that bad. It looks, to the untrained eye, you couldn't tell the difference between Scorpion and multicam.
Well, you can tell 300 meters, 400 meters out here. I'm telling you, that's the one thing. The one thing that I get to see out here is the silhouettes further out.
Yeah.
And very often things don't look the way they look up close than they do further out. They become more subdued, and the colors tend to change a little bit. Like, look how good the UCP did in the camo test that we did. I get you hate it. You know, I'm not saying UCP is the solution, but you have to admit it worked a lot better than a lot of the patterns that we tested.
It's not that I hate it, Dimitri. Everybody hates it. You are literally like the only person in the world that thinks it has any practical value.
It's not that I like UCP. It's that I feel like if only they went to a khaki and a sage green instead of like white and blue, it would actually meet that concept pretty well and work in a lot of places.
All right, so for those of you that think we're crazy, multicam, like Cry Precision multicam's on the left, the Scorpion is on the right, so you guys can see it's a little bit darker.
And that makes a big difference. That makes a big difference further out. The one on the right will silhouette you where I'm at. It's like too dark. But if you're in the woodland, it will match up better than the one on the left.
So,
anyways, we should wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, unless we got something else to throw out there. We still got people, like 100 people watching, so.
So I got this shirt here. This is a UF Pro shirt. This is Tropical Multicam. Get it straightened out here.
Yeah.
It works really well here in Virginia this time of year.
So I've done an effectiveness video for that. So you're going to get the same thing with that. And again, I think it's an effective camouflage pattern, but you're going to get the same thing if you go through that video and look. Same people are going to be like, "Oh, it's too dark.
It's too dark.
You know, the sun's hitting you, it's casting a shadow." Well, that's what's going to happen. But if you go prone, or if you're stationary, you know, with vegetation mixed in, like the sun's hitting it, like it's spot on. So
I don't know if you saw it, Brent, but my salute report video I did last week.
Yeah.
I had that shirt on, and I set my camera up and then walked into the camera, and I'm only in the brush, the brush from the camera, 15 feet, and I completely disappear into it. You know, so it's thick vegetation, but for this time of year here in the East Coast, it works really good.
What state are you in?
Virginia.
Mm.
You know, and it'd probably work all up and down the East Coast here, all the way out into the Midwest this time of year. You know, with variations.
So you got more of like darker greens, like Flecktarn and all that stuff matches pretty well where you're at, or no?
Yeah, that would work really well. early spring when the leaves are real bright green and they're kind of sparse. AOR2 works really well because the brighter greens in the AOR2 work. They're a little lighter. Now going into this time of year, midsummer, mid to late summer, the tropical multicam works and regular woodland works just as well.
Do you have the Green Zone Pencott?
Say that again.
Green Zone Pencott.
No.
It's good. Bruce has it. I've done a video on that as well. Bruce came and wore that for a video. So that's all the Pencott patterns, in my opinion, are pretty fucking good. I know Dimitri is he's kind of a hater of Badlands, but I thought Badlands looked phenomenal out there.
Why am I a hater of Badlands? Where did that come from?
Dude, you all the time, you're like, oh, yeah, looking at you guys running the course, you were dark and everything. And
were you not? I have video of it.
Okay. Well, so here's the thing. It's just the sun. You lay down and the sun's hitting you. It's casting that shadow casting is what that's going to happen to any pattern, even UCP, your beloved UCP.
Forget UCP. It's not my beloved. If you took UCP, right, you turned it khaki, like sage green, it would actually match in 360. Like the lighting would match. If you got rid of that white and the blue, and you went to khaki and sage green, and that a darker green, grayish, it's mixing gray and green instead of gray and blue. They really fucked up when they went gray and blue and white instead of khaki.
Didn't you do a video where you dyed UCP's apple green, Brent?
Yeah, we did that, and it was phenomenal.
So, what was better, Bruce's camel or the Pencott?
That's a hard decision. I have to look at them side by side.
So it's that effective, huh?
It's really good. It's really well. So here's the thing: when we filmed that was in the springtime here in North Texas. In the spring, the grass is very vibrant and almost like a lime green, right? So when Bruce dyed that UCP apple green, it was almost like an identical match of that very vibrant grass. Pencott has some of that vibrant green color into it, but it's. I think it'd be better. It'd be better for the vast array of the seasons, right? So from spring all the way into summer and going into fall, I think Pencott would cover you more. Whereas the UCP dyed with apple green is phenomenal during the spring, and will probably work very well during the summer. But as you get into the fall, that's when you're going to start having shortfalls.
Sure.
So again, we've talked about this, camouflage is environment specific. So I'm just waiting for the dude to post in the comment section about drones and thermal and how camouflage is irrelevant, because I see those comments all the fucking time.
I haven't seen him here tonight.
That shit just cracks me the fuck up.
What's the excuse me? What's the? I think it's a Japanese camouflage. They call it the Star Wars camouflage. You know what I'm talking about?
No clue. So
I can't remember what it's called.
That Star Wars camouflage was actually pretty effective.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it and going, "Fuck, that's pretty good."
Are you talking about the ATAX FG stuff, the indoor camouflage?
Yeah, the indoor stuff. I think Randall has something in camouflage of that, like a poncho or something. I don't know.
I don't know, guys.
What it's called.
ATAX FG looks a lot like the camouflage that the Rebels are wearing in Empire Strikes Back, and it's phenomenal. I love it. Bruce loves it too. Bruce is actually the one that turned me on to it. But in the spring and into the summer, and you guys will notice, people ask me all the time, and the only reason I'm divulging this information is because I've had multiple glasses of Crown.
Ah,
So, I'm right.
we
But
got
if you'll notice, when I do infantryman's guide videos, like the uniforms I'm wearing during those videos, like those are my preferred patterns, right? So it's like Woodland, ATEX FG. I've had some Tiger Stripe in there. Dimitri hates Tiger Stripe. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a minute. But anyways, ATEX FG, guys, phenomenal pattern for here in North Texas during the spring and in the summer with the vibrant vegetation. It's fantastic. I love it. And I see people comment occasionally like about it saying that it's not effective, and I'm just like, what are you looking at, man? Like, what are you seeing the same thing I'm looking at? Because it's pretty fucking good. Well, apparently the Russians bought the rights to the pattern, so like ATAX can't print FG anymore, so that's why they came out with the IX pattern. Like, it's just weird shit. I don't know the specifics and the specificity.
really? Wait a second. The Russians bought the pattern?
Yes. Yes. The Russians bought ATAX FG's camouflage pattern. So
that's not printed anymore here?
That's why it's not printed anymore. That's why it's not available. So it's like you can still find it with like cheap Chinese copies of it, or like Russian versions of like printed on Gorka suits and stuff. But that's the main reason why there's not like uniforms rolling off the shelf in ATAX FG. You're going to find like ATAX IX and there are other derivatives.
Well, if the Russians came to me and were like, I'll give you $1 billion if you give me the ACSS rights, there's no way a single cell in my body would say okay to that.
Well, they did it. Money talks. $1 billion. I hope Putin just to fuck with you, tests you on that.
I'm not the richest guy in the world, but I'm okay. That's just. Well, you've seen my camo patterns, right? The ones that I've made.
Yeah. You're gonna send me a video you snorting fucking cocaine off a stripper's ass off your yacht in the Bahamas, and you're like, yeah, I sold the ACSS to the Russians.
I'll come pick you up.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah. No, that's fucking mind-boggling, because I've had offers to buy my patterns overseas, and I've declined them.
Yeah,
but because they're gonna take your product, your patterns, and turn it into something that's shitty.
Well, that's the thing with the ACSS stuff. It's like, I should get into it, but it definitely increases your capability. Let's see.
So here's my question, and Dimitri, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I understand. But like the Chinese, for instance, like their service rifle, it's no secret that a lot of optic companies will make their budget optics in China, right? And that's
Everybody.
That's Primary Arms. That's
Vortex.
Yes.
Sig and all of them.
So you have these companies that are making these budget optics, and they have like the specs for the reticles that are going in these optics. But you told me that the Chi-Coms came out. No,
there's no need for them to know any of that. That's our advantage.
Okay, I got you.
So if they know that, then they go back and fix it.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I sleep good at night knowing that I arm millions of Americans with optics that create force. Like it's a force multiplier. They can now range and engage targets, even movers,
right.
Killed win.
Right. So that's like, and we've had this conversation before, but it's like, people talk all the time like, oh, I'm never buying a fucking, Chinese made optic. But here's the thing, guys. These optics are being put on rifles in the hands of Americans, right? The Chinese government is not allowing their citizens to put these optics on their rifles. So if a person that can't normally afford like an ACOG or a high-end optic is able to afford a $300 3-power primary arms ACSS optic, right, and throw it on his AR, fucking how is that a bad thing? Right? I mean, he's going to be better equipped than the Chi-Com grunt paratrooper that's landing in his fucking backyard. He's going to be able to dispatch him with extreme prejudice. So
here's what it comes down to. If you ask your average person, like guys watching right now, what's your hold for 300? What's your hold for 350? What's your hold for 400? 450, 5, 6, 7, 8. What are your bullet drop holds for that? What about your win holds? What are your win holds? Where would you hold? How about range estimation? Do you know all the mill formulas? Are you going to really sit there and do all this fucking math in the middle of shit? You're not. So the ACS,
98% of the people on here don't know how to do that.
they don't. But when you buy like an ACSS type optic and you dial it in at 100 yards, you can very quickly go, okay, he fits at 5. Go to the 500 yard mark and shoot. All of a sudden, you're making hits. Your capability has increased so much. So I don't understand that. They'll go buy a fucking iPhone. They'll go buy clothes made in China. They'll buy everything made in fucking China. And then they'll complain about the optic that gives you capability. That fucking blows me away. Whatever.
yeah,
That.
I mean, it is what it is. If you want to only spend U.S. money in the U.S., like, okay, buy your ACOG, but like understand that a lot of Americans can't afford an ACOG, and I understand that because you're talking $1,000+ and that kind of circles back to the whole bullpup conversation we were having at the beginning. Like your average bullpup is going to be $1,000+, so it's not an entry level rifle. Okay, so then go back, talk about these primary arms like the budget optics. I'm not talking about the higher end ones because the higher end ones are made in places like Japan. Yeah, they got like Japanese glass and they're fucking amazing. But you're paying for those, right? You get the budget ones are made in China, but they have the like an ACSS reticle in it, and like they can outfit our common man, right? Second Amendment, outfit every swinging dick behind every blade of grass with a rifle that's capable of engaging targets out to 500, sometimes more meters away. With bullet drop compensation with something like an ACSS reticle. Like, I am all for it. Every way possible, I'm for fucking China. But when it comes to Chi-Com made optics, I'm all for getting our shit in the hands of our people because it's going to be used against them.
Here's the thing: is just because somebody spent $1,300 on a U.S. made ACOG doesn't mean they're going to have the same hit ratio as a $300 Raptor. You saw what happened in low light.
Yeah.
When the wind kicks up, you're going to have to hold off and hold for wind. People aren't stupid. Once you start shooting at them, they're going to start running. So you need leads. So, I don't know. Like I said, I sleep good at night knowing that I am arming every single person behind that blade of grass. Whether they appreciate it or not, or whatever the fuck, I don't. At the end of the day, it's a force multiplier going to all the Americans. So I feel good about that. I honestly do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's again. Like I said, I try to stick to the Chi-Coms as much as possible. Which is funny because like I've never had a TikTok account, right, until this douchebag that somebody made me aware of that's like re-uploading my videos to TikTok. I had to make a TikTok account so I could like fucking report their shit, and I hated it because it's like I didn't want to fucking be part of TikTok. I didn't want Xi Jinping to have any like personal information of mine.
Are you doing all the dances and stuff too?
No, I literally made the account just to deal with this problem.
Wow.
But yeah, like I can't stand the Chi-Coms, and I want to do my part to like fuck them. But like when it comes to optics, like I'm all for our people, getting these things and just outfitting the average common man being ready. So,
you know what I think? I think at the end of the day, China needs us and we need them. all our of our prescription medicine and shit, a lot of it is made over there. There's so much.
I think all of our antibiotics are.
Yeah. So it's like, it's almost like going to war with yourself. And same with them. They couldn't go to war with us. Like, what? People talk about, oh, you know, China has stealth fighters. Well, we had fucking stealth fighters, what, 30 years ago? And that's just declassified shit that you're seeing. You don't think we have UFOs and crazy shit that nobody knows about? Like, I don't know.
So we were having this conversation on the last live stream. God, dude, we were way over 2 hours, but you know, we were talking about UFOs, and it's like, yeah, dude, the fucking stealth fighter was developed, and stealth bomber were like developed in the 60s and 70s. And it's like, you don't think that people, when they saw those flying through the air, thought that those were UFOs? Like,
it looked like a flying triangle. And
yes, yeah. I mean, people still today, your average civilian, if they saw those, would think that that's a UFO. So, but here's the thing, like, where'd they get that technology? Like, they get it from a crashed UFO. I mean, that's possible too. I'm not writing off UFOs. I know Dimitri's big into that stuff. Like, I think this is a pretty damn huge fucking universe just to have us. Okay, so I'm not writing that off whatsoever. I'm just saying that, like, you know, our people are probably seeing stuff that's getting worked on, you know, in some fucking underground bunkers. It's pretty advanced shit, and like people have no idea, and it's our stuff. So,
well, I mean, the perceivable universe is what, like 90 million light years away or something. We don't even know how old the Earth is.
Yeah.
So I believe there's life throughout the whole universe, and that's just the perceivable universe. But I also think that if aliens came here, they didn't want you to see them, you wouldn't fucking see them. So
we have the technology to get here. We're not gonna see them if they don't want us to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, because I've seen a bunch of UFO shit, but I think a lot of it is drones, secret projects, you know,
hypersonics,
a bunch of stuff that if you've never seen it before, like, how would you know what it is?
So, and the other thing is, like, what was it, last year or two? I think it was 2 years ago. There was a lot of news about, like, Navy pilots were seeing these, you know, fast-moving aircraft, right? Unidentified aerial projectiles or whatever, UAPs. And they were like, yeah, we're seeing them in our training areas. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait. You're seeing them in your training areas. Well, okay, now that makes sense, right? So it's like, okay, so if you were a government agency, where are you going to test your shit? Well, you're going to test them in, you know, federal training areas, right? Military training areas.
And you're going to test them with your own capabilities and not let them know that what they're seeing.
Yeah. So it's like you're going to test them in, like, our training areas, not fucking out in the middle of nowhere where, like, civilians are going to see them and stuff. So it's like, it makes sense that, like, these Navy pilots were saying, hey, yeah, we see them all the time. So like, there's that.
They're seeing hypersonics coming from Dahlgren out here, just north of where I'm at.
So
have you guys ever seen the Bob Lazar documentaries?
I have.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and again, I'm not writing this off. I'm not one of those guys that's going to say, like, you know, they're fucking nuts. Like, we're dude. The universe is massive, and like, you go back to ancient times, right? And it's like you got pyramids all over the world, and they all look very similar. And it's like, how the hell did that happen? You know, so like, I'm not writing off the fact that we may have been visited by, you know, extraterrestrials from another world or whatever the case may be. I'm not ready to say, like, hey, I believe this, ominous, 100%. All I'm saying is, like, it's possible, okay? But I think a lot of what people see in terms of, like, UFOs and stuff like that are, you know, our own advanced government testing, i.e., like the SR-71 or the F-117 or B-2 back in the day. You know, people in the fucking 60s, 70s seeing that flying through the air, they'd be like, Holy shit, that's a UFO. I've never seen an aircraft like that. So
I'm pretty buzzed, right? So I'm going to tell you a story.
I'm super buzzed.
And I'm drinking coffee, so I'm going to be up all night long now.
Yeah, you keep us on target there, Jared. You tell us when we're so fucking shit faced we can't talk anymore. Then.
Oh no, I'm going to keep it going because I need some quality entertainment.
So you know the shooting spots I took us to where we shot?
Yeah.
So me and my buddy Matt are out there, and we're shooting, and it's gotten dark, like pitch dark, like black. You could see stars, blah blah blah. And we're just kind of packing up and getting ready to leave. This fucking light shows up, and you saw how big that open desert is. It's like 10 miles. It's pretty far, like how far you could see. So this fucking light starts off at the horizon and comes to us in less than a second. It just like zoomed right at us, and it lit up so bright that it lit up the whole desert. It looked like daytime out there. And then it just zoomed out. It just like turned off and it was gone. I don't know what, you know what I mean? I have no fucking idea what that was.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you are in the Nevada desert, right? Like, isn't Area 51 like not too far from you in New Mexico?
I just don't think the government would test stuff like that, like on civilians out and like 5 miles away from actual like Vegas. I don't know, maybe. It just seemed
they're crashing stuff in people's backyard in Vegas.
So, yeah, that story is actually pretty fucking nuts. Because, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. That's a story right there. But I can tell you this: something did fucking crash in their backyard. Whether it was aliens or not, I don't know. I have friends that are in Metro, and from what they said is like they showed up legit, and those people were like freaked the fuck out. There was an imprint in the backyard. It showed up on a badge cam. It showed up on a ring. And now there's like misinformation showing up saying that like, oh, that ring thing was old. The Google thing was like showed up there, and it's like changing. And apparently shit like that happens all the time, and it gets covered up. So I don't know. I don't, who knows?
I don't know. I just my only thing with that particular incident is like the video that came out was like them all standing in the backyard and they're just kind of like peeking around the side. And it's just like I just think about my own situation, right? Like if I had a fucking something crash in my backyard, like I wouldn't be acting the way that they acted.
How were they? They look scared as shit.
Where were their guns? Like
actors.
They had a bunch of guns on them. You didn't see that?
No.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if you see like a fucking 10-foot space creature in your backyard, like you're not gonna, and he's walking towards you, you're not gonna blast him, or like I don't know. It just seems sketchy to me.
I don't know what they saw, right? Like, cause the video is like very blurry and very fucking weird, and you can't. Apparently, whatever was back there was hiding behind that forklift or whatever. So it's hard to, I don't know. I'm not there, right? So I can't comment. But I can tell you when that fucking light showed up on us, I was holding a fucking AR. And when that light showed up, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It scared the living shit out of me. Like I've been in a bunch of shit, fights, jumped. I worked clubs as a bouncer. I've been shot at night, all of that shit. Never have ever like felt. Actually, I take it back. One time I felt actual fear where my body was like scared. I'm at some kind of fucking zoo with my kids, and I turned around to like check on my son on his stroller, and this goddamn mountain lion jumps up against the glass behind me, and the hair on the back of it scared the living fucking it was like a primal fear. I can't really explain it to you. it scared the fucking shit out of me. So that was the only time that I've been like truly scared. And when that thing showed up, it was like that same feeling, like the hair on the back went up, and I didn't feel like shooting at it was like the right thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, so my thing is like, okay, so again, let's use your own house, right? If I had a fucking craft crash in my backyard and I go back there and investigate and I'm armed and there's a goddamn creature back there and they were saying it was like 10 foot tall, I'm shooting that motherfucker, right? Like two things are going to happen. Like either the UFO creature is going to kill me or I'm going to kill it. I'm going to be like fucking famous. I'm going to sell tickets to come see the UFO creature's body. Like
you're going to start an intergalactic fucking war doing that shit.
Well, I know, but like who would blame you though here on Earth? Like, dude, you had a 10-foot tall alien land in your backyard, like, and you shot him. Like, who would blame you? Nobody would blame you.
All his other 10-foot tall buddies are going to come help him.
Yeah. Well, I want to be the first kid on my block to get a confirmed UFO kill.
Fuck, that's funny.
I don't know. It looked odd to me. That footage that family sent. So I'm not discrediting him. Again, I'm not anti-alien or anything. Like, I think this universe is way too big to be us only. Yeah. And you look at ancient times and it's like there's a lot of coincidences for ancient times for us to be the only ones. So
here's something interesting as scientists try to recreate life. And they had like, water and dirt and all the elements, and they couldn't recreate life. And all of a sudden it dawned on them and they added electricity to it. So like lightning. And they were able to recreate life. I think I forgot how long it lasted. Eventually it like died off like within milliseconds or some shit. I don't know the whole thing to it. But I remember part of it that was needed was electricity to get it to go. So who knows, but I'm guessing since there's billions and billions of fucking light years, people don't understand. Like the moon is what, like a quarter of a second away, light speed. So you're talking about billions of light years. It's incomprehensible how big the universe is.
Here's something I've seen recently, that aliens are demons.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Who fucking knows?
Biblical stuff there.
I mean, you don't know. Don't know.
I'm the kind of guy, like, if you ask me, like, hey, what do you think of the FAMAS rifle or whatever? I'll tell you, I've never fucking shot one. I have no experience with it. I don't know. So, I don't know. Are alien demons? Are they sex robots? Who fucking knows?
My only thing is like, okay, so let's look at our own culture, right? The advancements we've made. Well, we have autonomous robots on the surface of Mars right now, right? We personally can't make it to Mars. So we're sending fucking rockets over there with these rover vehicles driving around and sending images back to us. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about aliens, supposedly, that are so sophisticated that they're coming from wherever the fuck, whatever planet, right? They're coming to our planet, but yet they're flying piloted vehicles with themselves as opposed to, drones, their version of drones. And maybe they are flying their own drone. I don't know. Looking at these tiny little objects that like F-18s have seen and stuff, like, yeah, they don't look like they're from fucking Earth. I mean, they could be, advanced drones for all I know, and they could be alien drones, but like there's lot of people with sightings and stuff. And like, there's this whole like subculture of like alien races and stuff. And it's like, if you're going to buy into the alien visiting the Earth, scenario, it's like, well, you can't write off all these people being crazy. Like if you're buying into this, you're going to think that some of this is true. And it's like the grays, right? Your stereotypical alien with the big head and the small, skinny body. Like, what are they? Right? Are they like a version of like a biogenetic drone? Or is that an actual creature? Like, who knows?
So that's an interesting point because, yeah, why aren't they sending a fucking drone, right? So it could be that they're just fucking tourists wanting to see the fucking animals like on safari, and we're the fucking talking monkeys they're looking at.
Yeah.
Who fucking knows? But yeah, that's a good. Why would they come out here when they can just send a drone?
Yeah. So that's something I've wondered personally.
Well, the only thing that would make sense is that they're on safari. Like they came here to see our dumbasses,
Yeah.
Like, what else could it be?
We're the fucking zoo animals.
Basically, yeah.
I mean,
you wouldn't send a drone to the zoo, right? You would like show up yourself to see the fucking animal.
I mean, if you were an alien from like another planet, like wouldn't you go to Ukraine and like view, like and watch these fucking Neanderthals kill each other? Like I would. I think that'd be super entertaining.
So what's interesting, apparently a lot of UFO sightings happen over nuclear like silos and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I've seen, and who knows, like what you're watching, it could be fake as fuck, who knows? But apparently they show up and disarm a lot of stuff.
I've heard about that.
You know what's funny is I went on vacation in California long ago, and what was I drinking? Horacha. We went to like a taco shop, and I was drinking out of a plastic cup with a plastic lid, but I had a paper straw. Have you heard about this?
No.
You can't have plastic straws in fucking California.
Such a
streets.
It's fucking comical, dude. Yeah, paper straws. And then we went to downtown San Diego, and there was literally blocks and blocks and blocks of like homeless fucking like tents and shit. Like it was nuts. It was. I don't know why I'm talking about California and plastic straws.
Well, they let their own citizens shit on the street, literally.
No, they're like no bullshit. There was shit on like the sidewalks.
That's such a failed state, California.
It's sad.
But so I mean, this is a hard issue to tackle, right? Because it takes some like being firm in dealing with like the homeless. Like, they come in like the liberals on the left, for instance. It's like, oh, we got to be compassionate and everything. Well, what's compassion? Is compassion letting these fuckers build a tent in front of store owners' businesses and like literally live in there and then like shit on the sidewalks and they don't clean it up and everything? Is that compassion really? What about the compassion of like the normal everyday tax paying citizen? Like does a family kids need to see this person like jerking off and shooting up with heroin on the side of the street? Like, how's that fucking compassion? So it's like I have no heart loss for those.
Well, those are the same people that are normalizing all this child pornography and pedophilia and shit too.
Right.
But at least trying to make it normalized.
Here's the thing, right? If you look at our military budget, and that's just like they're not showing you all of it. It's insane. If you took like just a little bit of that to help the homeless, but what I mean by help the homeless, I don't mean like let them fucking have a tent on the side of the road, but like deal with mental health and their drug abuse and actually try to help them, they could get somewhere with it. Here in Nevada, they just arrest them, and 2 days later, they're fucking out and about doing the same shit. There's a big tunnel system underneath Las Vegas, and they all live in the tunnels. It's like the Thriller video underneath the city. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
You know, if they would take a fraction of what we spend in Ukraine here in the past year,
that is just fucking insane. And here's the thing with that, it's like, if Russia moved into Mexico and they were in Tijuana, we'd be freaking fuck out, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of get their end of it, but it seems like on our end, they're just like washing fucking money. They're just, it's a money thing. It's not really, doesn't make any difference if you fucking have Ukraine versus you have a sub like literally fucking 10 miles away from Russia and they can just nuke the fuck out of them. It don't make no sense. I don't know.
I want to adjust this comment, dude. We spent like a whole hour talking about nothing but camo, man. So it's just whenever this live stream is over, just go back and rewatch that. So right now we're talking about aliens and homeless. So.
And two of these fuckers on here are drunk.
Oh fuck, dude, yes, 100%.
I'm just buzzed.
Yeah. Well, so this is what drives me nuts, right? So it's like I see these like 20-something-year-old individuals on the side of the streets, like panhandling. It's like, really? You're freaking 20. Like, you mean to tell me you can't fucking get a job at
they don't want a job.
Or, you know, McDonald's flipping a burger? Like, they don't want it. They don't want it, right? So that tells me they're willing, they're wanting to be out there on the streets. They're wanting to do nothing. And it's like, if that's the case, right, all this compassion talk about like helping the homeless and finding those, like, fuck them. Like they're dragging on our society willingly. Like those individuals, we need to take bulldozers, and if like they got a 10 on the sidewalk, like that shit needs to get a fire hose taken to it, and like you need to get the hell out. You need to go somewhere else.
But like, if you owned a restaurant, would you hire some homeless guy that smells like fucking piss?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, dude. Like, change your life around, right? Like, okay, you're homeless. Okay, well, what are you gonna do, man? How much money do you have? Like, get a fucking hotel room or get a place, take a shower, and you can start working here.
But that's what I mean. A lot of these guys, their mental health, you're thinking as a rational person.
Right.
They're fucking nuts. Or they're like addicted to heroin or some kind of fucking crazy drug. You know, like, it's like a fucking zombie. It's not a regular person.
Yeah. But I mean, is honestly though, is that my problem? Like, should they have a right?
Because we're paying for it through tax dollars and all these government programs.
Should they have a right to like establish a fucking domicile in front of somebody's business?
So what would
sidewalk?
Ship them off somewhere or what?
Fucking I don't know, push them out to the edge of town or something. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, so like, that happens here, right? Is like they get out and then they come here and then they get pushed back and it just goes back and forth. And it's like, it's the same fucking bums just getting pushed back and forth.
But so it's like, my opinion is like, you know, and law enforcement takes a lot of heat for this, but it's like, make their life uncomfortable. Like, especially, I'm talking about specifically these 20-year-olds that are willingly choose to live on the streets. Like, don't let them just stand there and solicit. Like, hem them up for anything. If they cross the road illegally, if they litter, like, fucking take them to jail. Make their life uncomfortable. Okay, if you want to be a drag on this society, like, okay, well, then you're going to live a hard life, dude. You're going to live in fucking behind bars 9 times out of 10.
So let's say you got this 20-year-old, right?
I think you're cutting up a little bit, Dimitri. I can't hear you.
I think the aliens got him.
I know. He's got full green bars. I don't know what happened.
But I think we'll wait till he gets back in, but I think a lot of the if you start arresting all these people and just throwing them in jail, now they're a burden on the justice system and the correction system, and now you're spending huge sums of money on these people just to house and feed them.
Okay, sorry, I was frozen for like a minute. But I was saying these 20-year-olds, right? Like you arrest them and you put them in jail, right? How long can they stay there? Like 3 days?
I mean, I don't know, and obviously they're going to get right back out, right? All I'm trying to say is just don't make life easy for them.
No. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that those 3 days they're in custody, that shit costs the taxpayer God knows what, right? So that's got to cost something.
I mean, a city is paying for a jail anyways. Like, what are they getting fed in jail? Like a Pop-Tart, a fucking, Popeye? Like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of like medical things at the hospital, and then you got to watch them at the hospital and blah, blah, blah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is instead of spending that money keeping them in jail for 3 days and letting them back out to do the exact same shit, where you're going to arrest them in a week from now or a month from now and do the exact same shit, why don't they make something where, okay, they're arrested, get them off drugs, get their mental health state, their mental health right, and try to like get them off drugs, because I think most of it is they're on drugs, right? They're either drunks or they're on drugs. They're in some shit. They're not like, I've never seen a homeless person that's like a sane person that like.
But a 3-day stint in jail is not going to get somebody off drugs or do anything for their mental state at all.
No, of course not. But if you took them and you forced like a 3-month program where they get off drugs and you got them like well and provided some kind of like made them work, I don't know.
My biggest problem with this is like, and that's great if that was an avenue. But I think most of these guys probably, I would say his venture is probably as high as 90%. They don't want that shit. They don't want rehabilitation. Like they're perfectly content just being drags on society and sitting on the street corner to panhandle. And then once they get enough, they're going to go to the local fucking smoke shop and get their allotment of, if you're in a marijuana legal state, their allotment of marijuana or whatever, the case may be. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like these individuals, they're perfectly content living the way they're living. And that's what I'm saying. Like, make life fucking hard for them to make them go somewhere else. Go live out fucking the middle of the Nevada desert or something.
When I work law enforcement here in this little town that I'm in, we had our local drunk, just like just about every other town across America has. I arrested him once a week, and I would take him off to jail, and they would let him out the next day, 12 hours later, whenever he would sober up. Within a week, he made his way back to town and just started walking around drunk.
Right.
I did that for 2 years, once a week.
But Jared, what did your citizens get out of that? Well, they got a week of like not dealing with that fuck, right?
They did, yeah. And I usually end up taking them through the McDonald's drive-through and getting them something to eat on the way to jail, because he hadn't eaten in 4 days or whatever, because he's been drinking on a bender, but yeah, I mean, the guy was really pretty harmless, but he was more of a menace to himself than anything. He's just stumbling. He was going to fall out in traffic and get run over is what was going to happen. But
I just hate the mentality. It's like, we're not going to do anything about it. It is what it is. So.
Well, see, that's the problem. Imagine if you were some drug addict or a fucking idiot or a bum, whatever, and you got arrested, and now you had to work hard labor. The country made you fucking fix the roads and pick up the fucking trash, and you had to work your fucking ass off. That's a great idea. None of these fucking guys would be running around doing this shit.
I think the people on food stamps and SNAP and all these other social programs need to do that shit too.
All right. I'm only saying this because I've had multiple drinks, but like, have you seen Starship Troopers?
Oh yeah.
I don't see how we don't end up in a system like that, right?
It's a social system where you have to earn your citizenship.
Yes. Okay, so like in that movie, when they're in class, they're like, our lesson's gonna be over the failures of democracy, right? And it's like you can't help but not see that. It's like eventually at a point you're gonna have so many people that are dependent on the government that that's all they vote for is more dependency. And
Sure.
then eventually those dependent people just become the majority. And then it's like nobody's working to provide to the non-workers.
Well,
And then you just have this failure of society.
That's what's fucking happening now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do shit. I've tried to hire people. I've like ran ads, and I don't know. We're older, so our generation, to me, it's like the new, how they think and how their work ethic is just fucking mind-boggling. It's nuts to me. They don't want to work. They don't want to do shit. Everybody just,
I don't think it will happen in our lifetime, but I think it will happen here. That yes, you're going to have to earn your citizenship by going to work camps or joining the military, just like in Starship Troopers.
Right.
I really do.
I've been watching these. So it's just crazy. But I have this like interest in like ancient Egypt, right? And there's like these Netflix series about ancient Egypt and like these finds and stuff where they find like these tombs and like how they were there for like thousands of years before, like Cleopatra and stuff. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, holy fuck, this society has been around for thousands of years, right? We've only been around for hundreds of years. Not very much at all. We haven't.
We live closer to Jesus' time than Jesus did live to Cleopatra's time.
Yes. So when you put it in that perspective and like seeing where we're at now, where we have like men identifying as women and competing in like female sports and like people pretending that these people are women when they're clearly men. I mean, it's just like the point where we're at in society right now. It's like, dude, we ain't going to make it to 1,000 years. We ain't going to make it, dude. We're not going to make it.
Did you see the thing where like this guy was a Green Beret or some shit? I forgot what group he was in, but he was SF. And he transitioned into a woman and fought in like mixed martial arts against women. And he ended up like breaking like 2 of their fucking skulls.
Yeah.
Like that, there's some point where you got to draw the line and be like, okay, combat sports, you can't have some dude beating up on women. That's just like fucking wrong.
I mean, it's clear as day, right? And like I've had these arguments. We talked in the live streams about like female integration into the infantry, and like all these people want to just say, oh, we need to integrate, everybody equal opportunity and all that sort of stuff. There's not equal opportunity of the sexes. Men and women are completely two different animals. There's a reason there's no women in the NFL. I'm sorry, like. Men are physically stronger. We're built that way. We're more capable. Now, when you talk about intellectual, like mental capacity and stuff like that, oh yeah, women are at our level or beyond, right? They're like they can do jobs in the military far better than men in certain aspects, right? Admin, for instance, or radar technicians, detecting enemy incoming aircraft. Like women can do that shit all day long. They can fly combat aircraft. They can drop bombs on targets all day long.
Yeah. But when it's not being sexist by saying it. It's just they're better at it.
Yeah. When you put her fucking rifle in her hand and be like, hey, you got a fucking 80-pound ruck there, plus your flattened Kevlar, in your combat load of 120 rounds of ammunition and water. Put this on. 3 days of fucking DOS. Put it in your ruck, ready to rock and roll. Dude, they're not built for that. And society pushing it down the throats of our society is just absolutely the wrong approach. And it's like the same with the transgender shit.
Yeah, I mean, you figure what the average chick in the military weighs, what, 130 pounds or something, 150? And they're going to carry a 100-round fucking ruck, a 100-pound ruck in a fucking rifle. That's like you carrying like, what do you weigh, like 220?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I wish I weighed 220, dude. I'm weighing like 250 pounds right now.
Okay, that's like you carrying like 175-pound pack more. That's a lot of fucking weight.
Yeah.
You know?
I was watching this American Gladiators documentary the other day, and like you had the female gladiators, which let me just say, American Gladiators, amazing show. I wish we still had shows like that, right? Like that's the epitome of our society. Just like fucking alpha male and female warriors competing. But anyways, I digress. I was watching this thing about, what was there, Zap? One of the female gladiators, right? And she could bench press like 300 something pounds.
God damn.
Awesome. Freaking awesome, right? But she is by no means the average female. Not even remotely close. She is an exceptional athlete, right?
She's probably roided up and has a clip that's bigger than our dicks.
They don't roid test, I'm sure.
So, but like that is not even remotely close to your average female service member. And even then, I'm still skeptical that a female could fit in the infantry role, even with her exceptional ability as a female gladiator. I mean,
I think there could be very few that could fill that role okay. Maybe some better than some of the guys that are in there, but there's not going to be that many.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not just that. Let's say they're war of equal strength and they could do the same shit, right? Because it's a female, everybody in the fucking squad is going to be in love with, you know what I mean? Like you're going to treat her different than the average guy. It's like,
I saw that, Dimitri. I saw that in Afghanistan. We had a female EOTech, and she was attached to our unit. And like I saw what it did to my unit, my platoon, when we went out. Like just like the accommodations our Marines were making for a female Marine. It was absolutely distracting. Absolutely
distract from the mission.
100%, no question. And
whether that female is interested in any of those guys or not, those guys are going to be interested in that female.
Correct.
Just because it's a female.
right.
Right. And I'm not saying this to like be a derogatory or anything, but like she wasn't unattractive, right? She wasn't like a fucking on a scale of 1 to 10, like a super 10. But she wasn't like unattractive. And that fucked with my Marines' mentality in the field. In war, very, very much, right? And it's
when
like
you're
we're going on
19,
combat.
20 years old and you haven't seen a woman in 6 months, it doesn't matter.
Yes, 100%.
Every month she goes up 1 point.
Every week.
So, but it's like for people to like discredit that mindset, right? To like say, oh, that's not an issue, or that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Completely ridiculous.
And I mean, and they're way better than us at like bookkeeping, fucking.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All of that shit, way better. So where they say like men and women aren't equal, I think they're equal, but they're equal because they're better at other things. Like women are better at some things, and we're better at them than other things, and it equates it. But to force it to go equal across the board, that don't make no sense. I mean,
I've been in the Marine Corps for 21 years, both active duty and reserves, and I'll tell you with 100% certainty that some of the best administrative Marines that I've ever had were female Marines.
Sure, yeah.
100%. So I've had some good male Marine administrators, but like the best ones, in my experience, have been females, and you know, they were phenomenal at their respective jobs. So it's just there's I'm absolutely 100% for female Marines. Yes, I do not support integration.
But
so when I went to boot camp in 1995, and I don't remember when the Navy integrated. It was probably way before that, but my division was an integrated division then, and it's because women were starting to go on ships. So we obviously had separate barracks rooms, separate berthing compartments, but everything we did throughout the training day, we did together, and they mixed and mingled the females in with the male recruits. And not that there was fraternizing going on, but it was definitely distracting to the training environment.
Yeah.
So they didn't come back pregnant?
Say again?
They didn't come back pregnant?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, that's
I remember this was I want to say 2005-ish. We were back from Iraq, but we did a training mission in 29 Palms. Our platoon, weapons platoon, was acting as the aggressors, so we were like the off 4 element for the rest of the battalion. And we went to 29 Palms, and 29 Palms has the comm school, right? So all like the communicators, guys are going to be like radio Marines and shit. And at one point we went by their barracks for some reason. I don't remember what it was, but it's like comm was an integrated MOS at that time. And like there was all kinds of fraternization going on. And these are PFCs. These are like privates. Most of them are 18, 19, you know, less than 20 years old, fresh out of recruit training. They're now at their MOS school. And it's just like the things I saw, you know, and at this point, I'm a 2 combat tour veteran, you know, Lance, you know, corporal of Marines. And, you know, I've seen a lot of this fraternization going on at, you know, these MOS schools and stuff like that. And it was like, the fuck are they doing? Like, what Marine Corps are they in? Because at this time in the infantry, there were no females. I was at Camp Horno and Camp Pendleton, and like literally there were 2 females at that camp. One of them worked in like the fucking mail room, and then the other one, I don't remember where she was. Maybe she was in the regimental administrative processing building, but that was it. The whole camp with all these infantry battalions there were 2 female Marines. You just didn't see them. So, yeah, like anybody dismisses like young 18, 19-year-olds fraternization, you live on another freaking planet.
Yeah.
Most of these 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are in the military are virgins, and they don't want to be a virgin anymore.
So I saw something interesting the other day. It was these 2 scientists made this thing called graphenite. I think it's called graphenite. I might be wrong. But it's a material that's about yay thin that weighs nothing that can stop bullets.
Interesting.
It's some kind of graphite shit that they came up with. But I was thinking that if they can make something thin that can stop bullets, well, first off, how do they know it stops bullets? That means it's gone through some kind of military testing. Obviously, the military would be interested in it.
Well, you know, there's a lot to that, though. It's like, okay, you can stop a bullet. Okay, well, what about the back face deformation, right? So, like, how far is it going to penetrate? You know, is it going to fucking break your rib cage? You know, yeah, I'll stop the bullet, but it's going to fucking penetrate like 3-4 inches in your body.
I don't think it deformates at all.
Really? Well, that's interesting.
That brings armor back, like full Spanish armor, like knight armor shit, head to toe.
Don't they supposedly make clothing or something out of this? like high-end business suits or something like that for VIPs.
I think that can stop like 9mm. It's like class 3 or something. Like you can stop your or level 3. So like
Your smaller stuff.
smaller stuff. I don't think it will stop like our actual rifle round. So if they're talking about something this thin can stop bullets, well, if you go a 1/4 inch, does it stop 30mm? Like what you know what I mean? Like what can it do? But it was pretty interesting. These guys won the like Nobel Prize or some shit for it.
Interesting. I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, I actually looked it up, and there was not a whole lot of info on it, but it does exist. So I don't know, but it really interests me because everything kind of goes back, right? Like eventually history repeats itself, kind of thing. At some point, we're going to come up with material, and I don't know if this is it or if it was just some crazy video. But if you can have something that thin stop bullets, then that brings armor, full out armor back.
Well, I mean, just warfare will always be just a repeating cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like right now, well, in Ukraine, if you just get Joe Blow internet, scoundrel out here, he's going to talk about like, oh, drones are just ruling the battle space. And it's not true, right? For every video you see of a drone dropping a grenade on somebody in a trench, there's probably thousands of hours of drones not doing jack shit, right?
Or missing.
You have electronic countermeasures. You have anti-aircraft artillery that's of some capacity, right? You got these like anti-drone guns. But anyways, for everything that evolves in technology, right, there's always a countermeasure that counters it. And you're not necessarily seeing that with every little video that makes its way to, the live leak and type websites.
Well, that's funny you say that because I was just thinking to myself, well, how would you counter this armor? And you'd make bullets out of that same shit, right? You'd shoot right through it if you made a 1/4 inch projectile, and you figure
start making out of titanium or cobalt or something, and that can penetrate it.
Right.
Well, you would make it out of the same material that the armor is made out of, and you'd penetrate it. If your projectile is a 1/4 inch, let's say, and the armor is 1/8 of an inch, well, that 1/4 inch doing, if it's that light, you're looking at like 4,000 feet per second. You'd punch right through it.
But I mean, we've always had specialized ammunition, right? I think of like 30-06 armor piercing rounds.
Yeah.
Like there's always been specialized ammunition that's capable of penetrating and punching through that next level of threat. So it's like whatever great advancement we have, there's always going to be a countermeasure to that. I just saw an article the other day, and I don't know how true this is, but the Russians apparently have developed some sort of anti-aircraft artillery that's capable of intercepting HIMARS rockets. So
it's probably radar guided somehow, or radar directed.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I don't know what this is, but like maybe a Century drone gun or some shit. You got a fucking HIMARS rocket coming in, and the Century drone gun detects it via radar and, locks onto it and starts shooting and then takes out the HIMARS rocket before it even impacts. So it's like all this, technological advancements. What are we seeing in the end? We're seeing a hell of a lot of infantry videos, right? Dudes hooking and jabbing with rifles and essentially in bayonet range and hand grenades and fucking
trench warfare, like World War I.
Yes, trench warfare. So it's all devolving into basic infantry tactics and skills. For all this it's said about technology, that's essentially what the war in Ukraine has devolved into. It's just basic infantry fighting
with a higher technological level.
Yeah,
behind it. Yeah,
AKs have Picatinny rails now.
Right. Instead of bolt actions, they have Picatinny rails, and yeah.
You know what I don't understand with the AK? Have you seen the AK-12?
Mm-hmm.
They've done all this fucking horse shit to it, and it's like, at the end of the day, it's an AK-74.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is how come no one's made like the gas block have a Picatinny rail where you can add a fucking dot to it and co-witness to the irons and just get it fucking over with.
Well, so Dimitri, I'll take it one step up, right? All these high-end AR-15s that you're seeing out there on the market right now, how much are they really step up from your regular AR-15, right? Your standard M4 clone with, let's say like a civilian 16-inch barrel. Okay. So maybe they're able to shoot a little bit tighter of a group at such and such 100 yards way around because they have a free floated barrel. But at the end of the day, like in combat, minute of man is what counts, right? So it's like, okay, you got a gun that shoots, 1 MOA at 100 meters or whatever. Somebody else has a gun that shoots 2 MOA or 3 MOA. Well, as long as it's minute of man, they're still killing the enemy at that distance.
So what's interesting about that, some of the most accurate rifles I own are not free floated. And it goes back to that harmonic signature to the barrel.
I'm not surprised at all.
And a buddy of mine just bought a PSA AR. And originally I was telling him like, get an Aero Precision, get something, a little higher up. So he bought the PSA, and it showed up. The castle nut was staked. The bolt carrier group was staked. Everything looked good. It shot a minute and a half at 100. It so far it's running great. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I've shot a ton of rounds, but like you, I own a whole bunch of fucking guns. So it's like
this one sitting behind me. It's nothing spectacular. It's a Springfield.
Yeah, but if you pull the trigger, it's gonna go bang.
It goes bang, and I can get on target.
Right.
Every time, anytime I want it to.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll do like my Daniel defenses and my BCMs. They're smoother. They run great. I've never had issues with them. But it's not to say just because you have a budget AR or whatever, it's not gonna fucking work. It's gonna work.
Yeah, 100%. And I think about like the M16A2 I went into combat with. They're like OIF 1. Who knows how many Marines that rifle was in the hands of, right? Probably went through multiple workups and deployments with, an individual infantryman. But at the end of the day, when I deployed with it years after the fact, and went down range with it in combat in 2003 in Iraq, that M16A2 service rifle worked just fine. So, and that was not a free floated barrel with the fucking latest and greatest optics on it.
They kill commies just as well as anything else can.
So were you room clearing with a 20-inch?
Dude, I did everything. Yes. So when we started the invasion, I had an M16A2, 20-inch barrel, and then about halfway through the invasion, for some reason I can't remember what it was. They switched up the squads and the teams, and I ended up becoming a gunner, which was great. I have no regrets for this whatsoever because like if you're going to be a gunner in a machine gun team, like you want to be a gunner during a war, right? So I ended up becoming the gunner. So then I got the M240 Golf medium machine gun and an M9. So it's like I had to clear buildings with an M16A2. I had to clear buildings with a fucking M9, right? I had to sling my M240 Golf and pull out my M9 service pistol and clear buildings with an M9. It was just a wild time.
I would feel way more comfortable with an M9 than a full-ass M16.
Well, so back then they used to have this technique called, I think it was called short stocking. You would put the stock over your shoulder, and so it's like you were closer up to your iron sight, so it made the rifle shorter. But that was the norm. Like that's how we did it. Like that's like nobody thought twice about it.
So you're like this?
I can't bring a
You
real.
were up on top of your shoulder, right?
If like this is my stock, like my stock's in my shoulder, you're putting it over your shoulder and you're bringing the rifle closer to you.
So
right?
your pistol is the butt stock.
Yeah, you're making the rifle shorter by putting the buttstock over your shoulder, because at that range, at close range, I think we called it shoulder stocking or short stocking or something like that. It's fucking been 2 decades, guys. So forgive me.
You're basically just point and shooting.
Yes.
Yeah. So my buddy Gunny said that they would actually shoot using their fingers. So you would just point at what you're going to shoot at. You would never use.
That was another thing. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Interesting. So you're bullpupping it. Right?
We're circling back to the original conversation 3 hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dimitri, how you originally said that you were only going to be on for a little bit because you weren't feeling good, and now here we are, fucking 3.5 hours later.
So I feel like shit.
The longest one we've ever done.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So I feel like shit all the time. For I don't know if it's the lead poisoning or what the fuck I got going on. A few months ago, I told my wife, let's go watch the Red Hot Chili Peppers because they were playing out here. So for me to go to a concert, it's like a fucking, it's hard on me. And I had a couple of drinks in me, and all of a sudden I felt almost normal. So we went to the concert. Everything was great. Came back. It was like normal. What's weird is that when I drink, whatever I got going on kind of like subsides, or I don't feel it as much. It's weird. So yeah, 3.5 hours later, I'm surprised I'm still here, and I feel okay.
Yeah. Alcohol is making up.
Yeah, right. But anyways, we should wrap it up. It's 3.5 hours, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 11:30 at night for me, and I got to get up in a couple hours.
Oh shit.
We talked about aliens, sex robots, goat. No, we didn't talk about goats. Bullpups. What else?
I think we pretty much solved all the world's problems tonight.
I think so. Bums and aliens.
Yeah, bums.
It's the homeless drunks.
I don't know how we went from aliens to homeless, but yeah.
Do you still have a lot of people on here or no?
We got 84 right now, so we've lost a few in the last.
I'm showing 87, but yeah.
Yeah, people got to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So regardless, I'm surprised, man. 3.5 hours into the stream, and we're still, right up there. So, anyways, I guess we can wrap it up. So, go back to the original topic. So, Jared, are you looking at getting a bullpup?
Someday I will. I have some other things I want to get first, and like I said in the beginning of the stream, 5 hours ago, that if anybody is close to Virginia and it wants to come out and let me shoot it for a little bit, that would be awesome. So I can make up get some opinions on it there. So
are you offering free training in exchange for a bullpup?
I will offer free training in exchange to shoot your bullpup. Yes.
Ooh, that's a good offer.
Yeah. And actually, I do have a range day scheduled for July 29th. I believe it's a Saturday. It's going to be kind of a free-for-all, kind of bring your kit and just have a fun day, and not going to be anything too structured, but we do have to have some structure to it. But I'm hoping to get a friend of mine to bring his M16 with the 240 on it, or the grenade launcher. Right?
Sweet.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll bring that down, and I think he has some stuff for that too.
How accurate are those, Brent? Or have you shot those?
What? I'm sorry, say again.
How accurate are those? Can you hit a car like at 100 meters with one of those?
Are you talking about 203?
Yeah.
That's what I meant, 203.
203s are great. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I always use the Leaf sight, but now they have a actual red dot, and it's like it's fantastic. So I hate to say this, but I've been disconnected from the infantry for over a year now, and just the advancements that they've made. Like all the grunts now have M27 IRs. When I left the grunts, it was like we were still in that like phasing out phase of like getting in IRs, and everybody was getting the new optics and stuff. Like now, all those dudes have low power variable optics. 203s, they're getting replaced with what was that 320 H&KM 320, I believe. So, but anyways, they had when I left, they had a no shit like red dot sight instead of a leaf sight or a quadrant sight. They had a red dot sight for their M203. So very.
Do you remember if it was called the Raptor system or something like that?
I couldn't tell you.
What's the effective range on a 203?
You're usually gauging something like 300 meters or so.
So could you hit a car, let's say at 300 meters?
Oh yeah, 100%. So here's man, I hate to say this, but like one of the most anticlimactic things I've ever seen in combat was a 203 hitting a 40 millimeter grenade hitting a car. And like you're expecting something out of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie out of the 80s, and it was not that.
It's like a little bit of puff of dust that comes out, and that's it.
Yeah. So literally, I watched a car. It ran a checkpoint, and it got hit with a 40 millimeter. One of our guys hit it with a 40 millimeter, and multiple people, including me, were engaging it with 5.56. And turns out, unfortunately, it was like a civilian family that, for whatever reason, like they don't comprehend the word stop or coming to a stop at a checkpoint, and they try to run it. But like almost everybody inside that car was alive at that particular time when they got out of the car. Now they may have died later, but it took a grenade and multiple rounds of 5.56 and still powered on through that checkpoint.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tests done where they're shooting through a car using 5.56, and it like makes it through the first door and starts to frag. So when it hits the second door, you get some of the frag that comes through, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like maybe the M855A1 solved that. We got some of that and shot the AR500 that I have, and it actually punched through some of it.
I was watching some of these videos on YouTube where they're shooting 5.56 through drywall, and it's like fucking 5.56 performs better in terms of like over penetration. It performs better indoors than like regular 9mm. Like
Sure.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, 9mm, 300 blackout subs, 12 gauge slugs, those kinds of things tend to penetrate, especially like water. You know how people dive underwater and they're getting shot at? Well, like 5.56 within 12 inches, you're fragging.
Yeah.
To where like 9mm, 12 gauge, all that stuff, it's going to penetrate quite a bit in water. So it's weird how different mediums react different with different bullets and stuff.
But the green tip's not going to frag out like that, though.
Green tip what?
Green tip's not going to frag out like that.
So, like from our testing, a green tip fragged. I think the neck was about 6 inches, and then it yawed and fragged.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. If you look up, if you go to YouTube and type in M855 gel test, there's all kinds of stuff. Where M855 won't do that is once you get past. It depends on the barrel length. I believe it's 200 meters. Past 200 meters, it won't frag. It will hit and yaw. But it yawing is enough to cause a lot of damage. If you look at like 7.6, what 5.45 shoots, like the AK-74, that round doesn't frag. It just hits and yaws. But its neck is very shallow. So as soon as it hits, it's fragging. I mean, not fragging, but yawing. To where M855 tends to have a long neck. So if you hit somebody that's real skinny, or like you hit an arm or a leg or something like that, it will like ice pick through sometimes. But I don't know. That's just stuff I read online. I asked my friend Gunny, I go, hey, Gunny, people say green tip don't work. And he just looked at me like I was fucking crazy. And he's like, everybody we shot was fucking gone.
So,
but that's like inside a room, so who knows?
I want to piggyback off that, Dimitri, because it's like you watch any given whatever tactical channel, right? And they talk about M855 and they they shit on it all day long. But like, I remember you telling me when we were coming out there to shoot, and we're like, yeah, get M855 because it's like ballistically and performance wise out here in the desert, like it's the cheapest round you can get, and it will have the best performance in terms of long range shooting out of your rifle.
It will.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what we got. And again, that was the round I was using out of my 16-inch AR-15, Daniel Defense AR-15, shooting at 800 meters, you know, at the end of the day. All the other yard lines, like fucking slaying it, right? 800 meters, I was still able to hit like 4 out of 10 targets. And yeah, that was all M855 ammunition.
So here's the thing with M193 versus M855. The M193 has the advantage as far as fragging and being more accurate within the first 300 meters. Past that, to where M855 isn't as accurate up close, a lot of that is because it's a longer bullet. Longer bullets take a longer time to stabilize. It's called, like in the Magnum calibers, we call it sleeping. The bullet hasn't slept. So if you get a Magnum caliber and you're shooting some big ass fucking bullet, you tend not to have a really tight group at 100, but at 600 you'll have like a sub MOA group. So imagine like a top, right? You spin a top and it's spinning, and it will kind of do a circle, and then it will stabilize and stay. Well, the bullet does the same thing. It's like kind of like how you throw a football and it's not a perfect spiral, and it's kind of like doing this, and eventually it stabilizes itself out. That's how bullets act. Longer bullets, they don't, the back end of them is not stable yet, and eventually it stables out.
It's almost spirals going through the air in the beginning.
Yeah, so like you'll throw a football and it will be like kind of not stable, then it will stabilize out. So bullets tend to kind of do that. So I've noticed that a lot, especially with Magnum calibers, is the groups at 100 aren't that good, but when you get to 500, 600, they tighten up a lot more. So that's one of the things with M855. It's like you're not going to get tighter groups up close than you will with 55 grainers. But when you get further out, they'll tighten up more. And 55 grainers, their ballistic coefficient is like 0.243 G1. The higher the ballistic coefficient number, the more aerodynamic that bullet is. The more aerodynamic it is, the less energy it bleeds further out, and the more accurate it is. To where M855, it's at like 304, 307. So it's a little bit more aerodynamic, and you can see it in the trajectory, like how much it drops further out. To where at 800 meters, you're still making hits with M855. M193 would be like way low. You'd have to come up so much more to hit. That, and it doesn't stay supersonic very long. It's only supersonic out to like 650 some yards. Beyond that, it's not supersonic anymore. So it's going through a supersonic flight back into transonic flight to subsonic, and it changes the angle of attack. So what that means is your groups will open up. So guys that live in the woods, guys that are talking about fighting up close, I would go with M193. If you live in open areas where you got to shoot a little further out, I would go to M855. If you can afford it, I would go MK262, the 77 grainers. Those will be more accurate. But
they have a little bit more weight in them to help stabilize them.
Yeah, an easy explanation is, imagine throwing a rock, and you got a little rock, a bigger rock, and a big rock. Well, that little rock, you're going to throw it fast, but it's going to die out very quick. You won't be able to throw it that far. To where that medium rock, you're not going to throw it as fast, but it has more inertia. It will carry further out. And then the bigger rock, it's like slower moving, but keeps that inertia. It's like the 62 is almost like a good balance in between a heavy and a light rock is the best. describe it.
The heavy rock keeps the inertia until the very end of its flight.
But you can only throw it slow because it's so heavy. You know, it's like a give and take. Not that I'm not saying M855 is like the round. Obviously, it's got its own issues. But it's like anything else. It's a give and take. But yeah, further out in my testing, which has been a lot. Fuck, I've shot a lot. M855 does a lot better, especially when it's windy, and the wind will carry you over. Like 55 grainers, for example, will be like, say, 30 inches as a wind hold, to where M855 will be like 25. You know, that kind of thing. But you know, and I've never been in combat and shot people with it, obviously, but from what I hear from guys is M855 did a decent job. But a lot of those guys are, you know, old crusty Marines that are shooting a 20-inch AR across a room. So that's different than, you know, a target 500 meters out. But
yeah, that's been my experience.
20-inch across the room, you're done. That's gonna fuck you up. You know, it's like that's gonna be bad. To a lot of the stuff I've heard from guys complaining about M855 is like Mark 18 shorter barrels, you know, don't perform as well. And that goes back to the Bullpup. You got a 16-inch barrel versus a 10, and they're the same length.
Right.
But anyways, it was good talking to you guys, but I should let you guys go.
Yeah, but let's fucking wrap up. It's crazy. I never would have thought I would have gone this way. Anyways, so I'm gonna go around the horn real quick. Just you guys, you have your own respective like social medias and stuff like that. So if you guys just say your closing remarks, and then we'll call it quits, right?
I'm supposed to say a closing remark?
Yeah, this is it, buddy.
Give us some bad advice.
Just be nice to people and be a good person, and, you know, try the right thing, I guess. I mean, what? I don't really have a closing remark.
What's your Instagram?
Oh, Xlogic Designs. Okay. So a lot of people don't know that like all the reticles are in use for PA and other companies. I've designed them. That's not from them. It's something I've designed that's being licensed out. So I'm a different company. I do work with them, obviously, but I kind of have my own gig. So if you guys want to follow me and my crazy thoughts and stuff that I post and that kind of thing, that's where you would go. I'm mainly on Instagram. I don't really have a big social media following, or I kind of stay private. So
awesome.
All right, since I'm the only sober one and designated driver tonight, we'll go back to the Bullpup for a minute. So yeah, I would be very much interested in shooting one and seeing how it works and how the manual of arms on it works. I think there are some clear advantages in it, especially for some CQB, vehicle CQB stuff. But without actually ever shooting one, I can't be for sure. So maybe someday in the future I can have the opportunity to do that. So anyway, guys, I have just recently started uploading some videos to my channel. It's nothing great, nothing much yet. I have some other videos I'm working on, trying to figure out this editing software, and I'm not a very computer savvy person, so it'll be a little while, but there's still some videos coming out. 2 Alpha Solutions right here on YouTube is where you can find my channel. And like I said earlier, I do have a range day scheduled for July 29th. I believe it's a Saturday. So if anybody's local to the area in Central Virginia, or if you want to drive in, I think we're charging $50 for the day. And it just covers the rental of the range. It's an old rock quarry. I think we could shoot up to about 300 yards there. So it's a pretty nice range. So it'll be a fun day. So if you guys think you want to come, contact me. My email is on on my homepage, I guess, on my channel. So it's not hard to find. So shoot me an email, and just be patient. Sometimes it takes me a day or so to get back to people via email. So and that's all I got. Back to you, Brent.
All right. Well, I appreciate my two guests jumping on tonight. Obviously, privilege and honor having Dimitri, the creator of the ACSS reticle, on here, and Jared, 2 Alpha Solutions. Man, $50 for a training day, guys. That's good. That's good stuff. And you know,
Wow.
if I'm sounding like a fucking broken record here, I mean, you hear this all the time, but invest in your training. You'll get more out of that than buying the latest and greatest stuff that these SEAL Team 6 operator gone social media children are offering you in terms of products. But invest your training, and again, fantastic time having these two gentlemen out here. So hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I know we covered everything from bullpups to fucking space aliens and in America's homeless problem. And and we're almost at the freaking 4-hour mark. I can't believe it. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Brent.